Chapter 2886. Rage from Shame. Clap, clap, clap. At this moment, Meng Lu clapped his hands. Well said, well said. Now you know the difference between you and me. Sun Bone thought that Meng Lu was convinced. There is indeed a difference between us. But is your character really that good? Meng Lu's expression was calm as he looked at the crowd. I want to ask everyone, if your clan is massacred, how will you react? Nonsense, we'll kill the enemy with our swords. Nonsense. Clan enmity is irreconcilable. Is there even a need to say this? Nonsense. Many people looked at Meng Lu with disdain, feeling that he was simply saying some childish words. It seems that you are all hot-blooded men. But as far as I know, your Sun Bone doesn't dare say a single word when faced with clan enmity. He can only run away with his tail between his legs. How can someone like this have the most perfect character? Meng Lu suddenly said, causing the entire plaza to fall silent. The corners of Sun Bone's eyes twitched, and his expression became unsightly. What nonsense are you spouting? Nonsense. However, someone immediately shouted angrily at Meng Lu. What? You won't even tell the truth? Sun Bone secretly ordered you to do this, right? Meng Lu said with a faint smile. He wouldn't stop until he shocked everyone to death. Shut up. Nonsense. A young man leaped out from the side of the plaza. He had a cultivation of the 7th level of the true god realm, and wasn't weak. After he appeared, he attacked Meng Lu domineeringly. You won't let me speak? Are you trying to silence me by killing me? Meng Lu smiled calmly and didn't resist, allowing that person to attack him. However, when that person approached him, a strange aura spread out, and his soul was instantly extracted by Meng Lu. Bang! That soul was simultaneously crushed by Meng Lu, and that person stood in the plaza like a stone statue, completely dead. You dare attack me with this level of strength? Nonsense. Meng Lu shook his head in disdain, then looked at Sun Bone and said, Sun Bone, you should find someone stronger. Moreover, you should be clear about my strength. Ordinary exceptional talents aren't my match, but you, Sun Bone, knew this, yet you didn't warn that person before. From this, it can be seen how despicable your character is. Shut up, shut. Taiyang Bone could no longer maintain his calm and shouted angrily. You don't want me to talk. Unfortunately, I had to say it. Meng Lu took a step forward and laughed heartily. In the past, Lin Ling led a group of experts to Tating Commandery and destroyed the commandery right in front of Sun Bone. But our Sun Bone, who is most likely to become Emperor Qing, didn't do anything. In front of Lin Ling, he could only obediently keep his mouth shut. He didn't even dare to resist. Such a person dares to say that he's fearless and only afraid of himself. And as far as I know, Lin Ling's rainforest holy land was destroyed because Sun Bone asked others for help. What a joke. You only dare to ask others for help to take revenge for your family. Even if it's an old man in his 80s or 90s, he still has more backbone than you. Dreamflow's words were like a barrage of cannons, bombarding Sun Bone's face until it was extremely gloomy. Whispers could be heard all around the square. Not long ago, Sun Bone had proudly said that in his entire life, he feared himself and wanted to surpass himself. But now, weren't these words slapping his own face? Meng Lu, you're talking nonsense. Sun Bone sensed the strange gazes around him, and he was so angry that he was boiling. Today was the day that his name would shake the entire Azure province. He was also telling everyone that he, Sun Bone, was the most likely to become Emperor Qing. However, Meng Lu had come to make trouble and hit him when he was down. Not only was he unable to be proud, but he was even more humiliated. A person who wanted to become Emperor Qing had his country destroyed, but he didn't dare to resist. Such a person could only be called a coward. What's wrong? Senior brother Sun Bone, are you angry because I've hit your sore spot? Meng Lu continued to hit him when he was down. He looked at the geniuses who admired Sun Bone and asked, May I ask if your senior brother is a man? Hearing this, those geniuses were speechless. They couldn't answer anything. For a moment, the entire square was filled with whispers. Although no one dared to laugh at Sun Bone, it was obvious that their gazes had quietly changed. Meng Lu, this is the Azure Dragon Manor. Don't be so shameless. The Azure Dragon King sensed the strange atmosphere around him, and let out a low growl. Sunbone had lost face, and the Azure Dragon Manor had also lost face. Azure Dragon Manor, the overlord of the Four-Ring City, but the current Manor Lord is also a coward. Let me ask you, after your son's death, do you know the murderer? Who would have thought that not only was Meng Lu unafraid, he even laughed loudly. Are you going to shut up? At the mention of his son, the Azure Dragon King's lungs almost exploded. Azure Dragon King, you definitely know who the murderer is. Even the people here know. But knowing is one thing. Do you dare to take revenge? Meng Lu continued. You don't dare. You and Sunbone are the same, only putting on an act in front of outsiders, saying how powerful you are. But in reality, you're nothing but a coward, trash. What's ironic is that two cowards are actually worshipped and respected by the Azure Province's overlords. Could it be that all the Azure Province's overlords are cowards? Meng Lu's voice grew louder with each sentence, causing everyone's face to turn green with anger. Enough, you're spouting nonsense here. What are your intentions? Did the Black Warrior Manor send you here? I know, you want to become one of the Azure Province's 9 great heavens, but you're not Sunbone's opponent, so you're slandering him. You want to help the Black Warrior Manor suppress the Azure Dragon Manor, so you're slandering the Azure Dragon Manor. Meng Lu, your intentions are too vicious. Don't think everyone is unaware. At this time, an old man beside the Azure Dragon King stepped out. Obviously, he had received the Azure Dragon King's order to stop Meng Lu from doing whatever he wanted. Otherwise, their Azure Dragon Manor would have no face to see others in the future. Slander? Haha. However, Meng Lu shook his head. The one who destroyed the Grand Court Commandery was Lin Ling, and the one who killed the Azure Dragon Manor's son was also Lin Ling. Yet you're saying that I'm slandering. Do you have any shame? Do you have any shame? Meng Lu's last sentence shook the surroundings, echoing endlessly. Lin Ling. Everyone recalled this name repeatedly. Whether it was Sunbone or the Azure Dragon Manor, Lin Ling had left them with great humiliation. If Sunbone had the potential to become the Azure Emperor, then what about Lin Ling? Lin Ling was clearly above Sunbone. Ironically, even though Lin Ling had accomplished such a feat, far surpassing Sunbone, he would not be like Sunbone, summoning the Azure Province's overlords to build his own reputation. In other words, a true dragon was low-key, while a cockroach was jumping up and down. What a foul mouth, what a vicious heart. I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of the Black Warrior Manor. Hearing Sunbone's words, the old man bellowed, leaping out and attacking. Haha, awesome. Chapter 2887. I'm Lin Ling. Meng Lu's talent was terrifying and unmatched among the geniuses of the 3 academies. However, the old man was a first-level martial immortal, and his power of the universe was extremely complete. He actually borrowed the power of the universe to grab Meng Lu. He obviously knew of Meng Lu's talent, so he didn't approach him. As a result, Meng Lu's talent couldn't be unleashed. In terms of other means, Meng Lu was only at the peak of the true god realm, and was inferior to him. Bastard. Moreover, he wasn't the only one who attacked. The old woman on the other side also attacked. The two of them were obviously husband and wife, and were highly respected in the Azure Dragon Manor. They were known as the Twin Crimson Dragons. When the old woman attacked, a crimson ancient dragon roared out. It was actually formed from the power of the universe, and was extremely terrifying. Under the attacks of the two seniors, dark clouds rolled in the sky, causing the entire Four-Ring City to move. As for Meng Lu, the pressure on him increased. He didn't expect the Azure Dragon Manor to be so shameless. In order to deal with him, they actually let 2 first-level Wuxia experts join forces. Your mouth stinks. I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of your elders. The old woman said sarcastically. The Crimson Dragon swept towards Meng Lu's head. It looked like she was teaching him a lesson, but in reality, she wanted to kill him. What a pity. Meng Lu is also a rare genius in the Azure Province, and is only below Lin Ling. However, he's still a little weak against the Azure Dragon Manor, and the Sunbone alone. I know he's always admired Lin Ling, and wants to surpass Lin Ling. Therefore he dares to do what Lin Ling dares to do. However, he's not as powerful as Lin Ling. Meng Lu is probably going to die. Around the square, Some of the overlords of the Azure province knew of the Azure Dragon King's schemes and shook their heads. However, just as the old woman's crimson dragon wrapped around Meng Lu, a long roar suddenly sounded. "Brother Meng Lu, you're really brave. However, how can I miss out on such a thing?" A black shadow shot out like a rock and appeared beside Meng Lu. It opened its palms wide, and it was incomparably domineering. It actually tore the crimson dragon apart. Soon after, a person wearing a large cloak appeared in the plaza, causing the plaza to become deathly silent. Everyone was greatly alarmed. This person's strength is so strong. He actually suppressed the attack of a martial immortal with his bare hands. How dare you meddle in the affairs of the Azure Dragon Divine Manor? The old woman roared angrily, her old face gloomy. Snakes and rats are really a nest of snakes and rats. Someone touched your sore spot, so you killed him to silence him. Your Azure Dragon Divine Manor is really a disgrace. The cloaked man spoke indifferently. As soon as he finished speaking, his figure moved and strangely appeared before the old woman. With a single punch, he blasted it out cleanly. In my opinion, the Azure Dragon Divine Manor is only so. Rumble. That fist was terrifying to this extent. The world essence extremely great, making that old woman's pupils tremble. Who was this person? Why was he even more terrifying than Meng Lu? Boom. However, just as she was about to say something, the fist landed on her body, causing her body to tremble violently. Then she directly exploded, her flesh and blood splattering everywhere. A martial immortal level expert had been killed just like that. Furthermore, he had been killed by a single fist strike. So strong. Everyone's hearts trembled, including Meng Lu. That was because he saw that the cloaked man's cultivation was the same as his. In fact, it seemed that the cloaked man's cultivation was slightly weaker than his. However, the cloaked man's cultivation was something that he could not defeat. Old woman. On the other side, the old man's eyes turned red. He never thought that killing Meng Lu would cause his wife to die. You'll pay with your life. The old man gave up on attacking Meng Lu and pounced toward the cloaked man. Be careful, Dreamy Flow subconsciously called out. Boom. However, just as his voice fell, the cloaked man had already attacked. His speed was extremely fast, the speed of the 9 realms. Moreover, it was still a single punch. With a single punch, he actually killed the old man who possessed 10% of the power of the universe. The twin crimson dragons had both died. As for the person who had taken their lives, he had only used 2 moves. Evidently, he was an overlord that could not be underestimated in the Azure province. Senior, thank you. Even Meng Lu was astonished by the cloaked man's strength. Sir, you killed my people in my Azure Dragon Divine Mansion. You are truly too arrogant. At that moment, the Azure Dragon King was naturally furious. However, Sun Gu waved his hand to stop him. Instead, he looked at the cloaked man and said, Sir, must you protect Meng Lu? Earlier, he misled the crowd with his lies and slandered our great Azure Dragon Divine Mansion. This is already a capital offense. If you insist on protecting him, be careful of provoking someone that you cannot afford to provoke. Seeing that the cloaked man was very powerful, he guessed that the cloaked man's origin was not small. Thus, he gave the cloaked man face and said those words. Haha. However, the cloaked man laughed wildly and slowly removed his cloak. First, he did not mislead the crowd with his lies. Second, you and the Azure Dragon Divine Mansion are not enough to make me feel fear. That's because I am Lin Ling. When the cloak was removed, a handsome face appeared in front of everyone, causing their hearts to beat violently. Lin Ling was back. He was not dead. Everyone looked at Sun Gu, and then looked at Lin Ling. At that moment, their lips curled into a strange smile. Previously, Sun Gu would rather die than admit that he was afraid of Lin Ling. He also did not dare to admit that he had destroyed his country. Now, the murderer who destroyed his Grand Court Commandery had appeared, proving everything. Moreover, the Azure Dragon Divine Mansion was the same. Lin Ling had killed the Azure Dragon King's son, so the Azure Dragon King should hate him to the core. However, Lin Ling was still alive. Everything showed that they were afraid of Lin Ling. It's you. Meng Lu also stared at Lin Ling in disbelief. Then he smiled bitterly. He was currently the most dazzling genius in Qingzhou. His rise was fast, and his name was known throughout Qingzhou. However, there was still one person above him, and that was Lin Ling. However, he was not convinced. He had always wanted to surpass Lin Ling. This was a kind of fighting spirit, an unyielding fighting spirit. However, the previous incident also proved that while Meng Lu's strength had increased greatly, Lin Ling had improved even more than him. At the very least, Meng Lu was helpless against the Red Dragon duo. On the other hand, Lin Ling killed them with 2 punches. Lin Ling, this has nothing to do with you. Get lost. Sun Gu and the Azure Dragon King stared at Lin Ling in disbelief, especially Sun Gu. He thought that Lin Ling had disappeared and was killed by the Empress Dowager. Now that he had appeared at their most glorious moment, they were undoubtedly furious. Lin Ling's appearance was definitely not a good thing. In fact, Lin Ling was their nightmare. In fact, they were not afraid of Lin Ling's strength. However, they had witnessed Lin Ling's charisma. It could be said that in the Great Azure Divine Dynasty, 40% of the powerhouses in Qingzhou would give face to Lin Ling. Therefore, they knew that Lin Ling was not someone they could provoke. Haha, Sun Gu, are you afraid of me? Chapter 2888. If you're not convinced, let's fight. Sun Bone, you're a coward. Do you think I, Lin Ling, don't know that you asked others to destroy my rainforest sacred land? When I destroyed your country, you didn't dare to confront me, and only dared to do some cowardly things. But when you destroyed my rainforest sacred land, I, Lin Ling, am not as cowardly as you. I'm here today to kill you. Lin Ling's voice was like thunder from the heavens. It was different from Meng Lu's. He was straightforward and went straight to the point. This guy. Meng Lu's jaw dropped. He also didn't like Sun Bone, but he restrained his provocation. On the other hand, Lin Ling dared to confront him head-on. He was arrogant and overbearing. Even he felt ashamed of his inferiority. The grudge between the two of them isn't small. However, Sun Bone is one of the 9 heavens of Qingzhou. When his country was destroyed, he could only hide obediently. Lin Ling is different. When his country was destroyed, he immediately came to kill. This is how a cultivator should be. Yeah, Sun Bone said that he has the highest chance of becoming the Azure Emperor. But above him, Lin Ling is more qualified. The crowd also spoke up. They looked at the blue and white robe in the square with admiration in their eyes. Lin Ling, leave first. We'll settle our grudge another day. For now, the Azure Dragon Manor doesn't welcome you. Sun Bone stared at Lin Ling with an ugly expression. He couldn't wait to kill Lin Ling, but he didn't dare. He had a feeling that if he attacked Lin Ling, he would be killed before he could even touch Lin Ling. Therefore, even if he hated Lin Ling, he could only lower his voice. Sun Bone, are you that afraid of me? If you knew this would happen, you wouldn't have done it in the first place. Lin Ling said coldly. Was it possible for him to leave? Lin Ling, shut up. This is the Azure Dragon Manor. Seeing Lin Ling's overbearing attitude, the Azure Dragon King roared. You shut up too. Unfortunately, Lin Ling wasn't afraid at all. He even looked at this big shot of 4-ring city and sneered. You are the Azure Dragon King. Since when did you have to suck up to the 9 heavens of the Azure province? Don't you feel ashamed? However, given your thick skin, you shouldn't feel that way. However, have you not considered the other 3 divine dwellings? They are as famous as you, but you have done such a lowly thing. They have also lost face. They are not as lowly as you. Their son died, and then they casually took a dog as their son. Enough. Hearing Lin Ling's words, the Azure Dragon King gritted his teeth. Enough? I haven't finished yet. Your son died in my hands. Now that the murderer is right in front of you, do you dare to kill him? Do you dare? Lin Ling took a step forward, his blue robe flapping loudly. He was asking the Azure Dragon King whether he dared or not. In the past, although he had no enmity with the Azure Dragon Manor, the son of the Azure Dragon had provoked him, and was killed in the end. Therefore, he knew that the Azure Dragon King would kill him no matter what. However, Lin Ling was too powerful, and the Azure Dragon King didn't dare to make a move. Therefore, Lin Ling had no reason to fear him. Lin Ling, you are only relying on the lords behind you. If not, you are nothing. Don't be too arrogant. Sun Bone lost his mind when he saw that Lin Ling had snatched his stage. Haha, I Lin Ling. am relying on the lords behind me? Lin Ling laughed even louder. Sunbone wanted to preserve his last bit of reputation and trample on Lin Ling at the same time. However, was Sunbone qualified? I, Lin Ling, came from the sacred land of the rainforest. When I first arrived in Qingzhou, no one knew me. I relied on my perseverance and strength to make a name for myself. But what about you, Sunbone? Who are the people behind you? Do you dare to say that you relied on your own strength to make a name for yourself? Lin Ling said word by word. Sunbone opened his mouth, but he couldn't refute him. The others nodded secretly. Lin Ling wasn't famous at all in the beginning. He did rely on himself to rise step by step. Gradually, he was noticed by the great Azure Divine Dynasty. It could be said that Lin Ling relied on his own blood, sweat, and perseverance to reach where he was today. Sunbone was born with a golden spoon in his mouth. He was the #1 genius of the 4 great commanderies. He didn't lack cultivation resources. The big shots also gave him face and allowed him to rise rapidly. Therefore, when comparing the two, how could the Sunbone compare to Lin Ling? Now Sunbone still had the nerve to say that Lin Ling relied on the people behind him. How ironic. Moreover, the two of them had different starting points and had different achievements. Lin Ling could make the big shots of Qingzhou give him face, but Sunbone couldn't. He could only call on people like the Azure Dragon King. How could he have the nerve to say that? For a moment, the Azure Dragon Manor and Sunbone were speechless from the humiliation. The humiliation he had just suffered was even more severe than the blow brought about by the dream stream. Lin Ling, what a good guy. You stole the Azure Emperor's Imperial Jade Seal and became famous in Qingzhou. Is that why you're so arrogant? The Azure Dragon King is a righteous person. You killed his son, but he didn't take revenge on you. Instead, you're seeking revenge. Aren't you too petty? Or do you think you're a big shot in Qingzhou? At this moment, a sarcastic voice rang out. Among the crowd, a middle-aged man was drinking tea as he spoke, as if he was talking to himself. This person was the housekeeper of the Thundersound Manor. He was here to represent the Thundersound Manor. The Thundersound Manor had a grudge against Lin Ling. So to them, Lin Ling was their greatest enemy. You're saying that I'm lawless and arrogant? Lin Ling looked at the middle-aged man indifferently. He didn't know him. Isn't that the case? If all the martial artists in Qingzhou were like you, Qingzhou would be in chaos. The middle-aged man was still drinking tea. His words seemed to be fanning the flames. Hee, since you put it that way, I'll tell you. I, Lin Ling, am lawless. Go ahead and boast. Lin Ling smiled and looked directly at the middle-aged man. He spoke without fear. At this moment, the middle-aged man stopped drinking tea, and his eyes trembled violently. His previous words were to sow discord and make the big shots of Qingzhou target Lin Ling. He thought that Lin Ling would clarify himself, but who knew that not only did Lin Ling not clarify himself, he even admitted it domineeringly. So what if I'm lawless? You. The middle-aged man pointed at Lin Ling and was speechless for a moment. What about you? If you're not convinced, let's fight. I know that many of you are not convinced by me, Lin Ling. Then let's fight. But if you dare to come out, you'll die. If you don't, then shut up and stop your nonsense. Lin Ling's robes fluttered as he looked at the big shots of Qingzhou. Today he was going to take Sunbone away. He wanted to see who could resist him. The entire Azure Dragon Manor was silent. Countless gazes were fixed on the figure in blue robes, fearless of heaven and earth. Peerless arrogance. This figure was deeply imprinted in their hearts, and they would never forget it. Even Meng Lu's mouth was agape. Lin Ling was challenging a big shot of Qingzhou, as expected of Lin Ling. Lin Ling, you mocked Sunbone for relying on others to destroy your hometown. Today, you're here to challenge Sunbone. Didn't you also rely on the big shots of Qingzhou? If you're so capable, you too can fight one-on-one. At this moment, a cold voice sounded from the crowd. It was unknown who was the one shouting. However, his goal was very sinister. He wanted to force Lin Ling to fight Sunbone face to face. That's right. Aren't you arrogant? Do you dare? However, although Lin Ling was powerful, no one thought that he was a match for Sunbone. Sunbone was a level 2 martial immortal. He couldn't be underestimated. Rumble. Within the multicolored flames, rumbling sounds could be heard. Then, a fist exploded and shot towards the sky like a meteor. As the fist and palm approached from afar, they were as huge as mountains. Before they even collided, the entire Azure Dragon Divine Manor collapsed, and the tiles fluttered in the air like fallen leaves. When the fist and palm collided, a terrifying power erupted. That power was so strong that no one below the martial immortal realm could resist it. Golden flames and multicolored flames clashed crazily. The crowd's breathing quickened. Lin Ling was defeated in one move. Bang! However, in the next moment, two rumbling sounds could be heard. Because two figures were sent flying out of the flames, reaching a distance of 1,000 miles. Impossible! You're just a true immortal realm cultivator. How could you block my palm? Soon a shocked voice drifted out. The sun bone was roaring, and its golden hair was a little messy. In the previous collision he didn't gain any advantage. He felt like he was dreaming. What? Everyone was also looking at the sky, their expressions extremely solemn. Sunbone was evenly matched with Lin Ling. One should know that Sunbone was a level 2 martial immortal realm cultivator. Not to mention other things. If it were an ordinary level 2 martial immortal realm cultivator, 90% of them wouldn't be a match for him. However, Lin Ling, who was a true immortal realm cultivator, was unharmed. A frog at the bottom of a well. On the other side, Lin Ling sneered. Now that he had activated the evil flame change to the limit and combined the two dantions, his world essence was not much weaker than a level 2 martial immortal realm cultivator. He had tested this many times in the Crimson Province. Then, without waiting for Sunbone to say anything, Lin Ling activated the speed of 11 worlds and appeared in front of Sunbone. Moreover, he didn't use any martial arts. He relied on his enormous world essence to suppress Sunbone. At this moment, Sunbone didn't seem to react. He didn't expect Lin Ling to be so fast. Boom! With one punch, Sunbone's cheek was fiercely punched, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. After he anxiously blocked, he couldn't stop Lin Ling's fierce attack. Sunbone, you're finished. In the past, when I first fought with the Grand Court Commandery, I spared you once. However, you went back on your words and tried to assassinate me, Lin Ling. When I fought with the Grand Court Commandery for the second time, I thought that it would be enough to catch the murderer. However, the people of your commandery insulted me. Therefore, I destroyed your commandery. This is what the Grand Court Commandery asked for. Lin Ling's voice was like thunder. Each punch was stronger than the last. Chapter 2890. 12-Leaf Heavenly June Flame. Do you think this is all I've got? Sunbone roared. He activated his divine body and wanted to reverse the situation. My talent is very domineering. Although it doesn't have any mysterious effects, it can suppress all divine bodies that are of a lower level than me. Burning Moon Heavenly June Flame. Beautiful bone wings grew out of Sunbone's back, greatly increasing his speed. His entire body was covered in a crystalline light, looking extremely sacred. At the same time, flaming leaves fell from the sky. The leaves were golden, and there were 6 of them in total. Sunbone held them in his hand and began to devour them. Rumble! Behind him, the golden divine sun phoenix became even more dazzling. The surging power made even third-level martial immortals tremble in fear. Lin Ling, be proud of yourself. You're still my opponent. After the divine sun phoenix appeared, Sunbone turned into a brilliant light and shot towards Lin Ling. 3,000 burning moons. As soon as he attacked, the sky was filled with burning moons. It was extremely dazzling. These powerful moons all charged towards Lin Ling. Rumble! The moons completely exploded, as if they were sprinkling heavenly fire. The surroundings turned into a golden sea of fire. Moreover, a figure flew out from the sea of fire and smashed onto the ground. It was Lin Ling. As expected, Lin Ling is no match for Sunbone. How can one of the 9 heavens of the Azure Province be defeated so easily? Seeing this, the various overlords shook their heads and said, even so, they did not feel that Lin Ling was a disgrace. After all, Lin Ling was also a rare genius of the Azure Province. Haha! Seeing this, the Azure Dragon King laughed loudly. His laughter was filled with pride. After being hit by my talent, Lin Ling should be burned to death by now. Sunbone floated in the sky like a divine king. The wings behind him flapped, looking indescribably majestic. Haha, Sunbone. You should take your position as one of the 9 heavens of the Azure province yourself. This attack is too weak. However, at this moment, a maniacal laughter rang out from the ground. Under countless gazes, Lin Ling was still standing on the ground. His long hair danced in the wind, and he looked wild and unruly. Seeing this, Sunbone's pupils constricted. He had already unleashed his innate talent and used all of his strength, but Lin Ling blocked his attack and didn't die. If Lin Ling was one of the 9 heavens of the Azure state, then he would feel that it was normal. However, Lin Ling wasn't. He was just a junior. Sunbone, didn't you say that I was relying on someone powerful backing me? But now, you can't even kill me in a one-on-one fight. Lin Ling's voice floated out again, causing the Sunbone to grit its teeth. Flames surged like a tide as it attacked again. Seeing this, Lin Ling's eyes narrowed. In the faraway Third Ring City and Second Ring City, the ground started to burn without any fire, letting everyone know that a great battle had occurred in the Qing province. Lin Ling lose. Seeing the Sunbone's strength increase greatly, the smile on the Azure Dragon King's face became increasingly excited. Lin Ling is only at the True God realm. Lord Dean, should we make a move? Vice President Gong said worriedly. However, Qi Yuhu, who was beside him, stopped them. No, I'm familiar with Lin Ling's temperament. He wants to avenge his friend personally. Otherwise, he would have called us along when he came to Sihuan City. But his opponent is one of the 9 heavenly emblems of Azure Province. Moreover, he possesses the Sunbone, the Emperor's fate. Vice Principal Gong frowned. Don't worry, I have confidence in him, Qi Yuhu said slowly. Vice Principal Gong and the others smiled bitterly because they didn't have much confidence in Lin Ling. Everyone, leave the Azure Dragon Divine Residence immediately. At the same time, the overlords of Azure Province shouted loudly. They knew that the following battle would be very intense. If they got too close, they would be implicated if they didn't have the strength of a martial immortal. Yes, many people began to retreat and watch the battle from afar. At this moment, the Sunbone had already turned into a golden crow. He looked like a god and also like a demon. He lightly exhaled and the sky immediately lit up with flames. The Sunbone's strength has increased greatly. Even the air he exhales has turned into golden flames. Seeing this, the crowd became even more alarmed. Lin Ling, you forced me to use the 12-leaf Profound Heaven Flame. You will definitely die. Don't you know that every time I use this trump card, I need 100 years to recover? You've wasted 100 years of my time. The Sunbone's voice was very sharp like the cry of a bird. He stepped out with his phoenix claws. Although it seemed very slow, it instantly appeared before Lin Ling. Huge wings with surging flames swept out. The power of the world essence within it had reached the 4th level of the martial immortal realm and 20% of the power of the universe. At this moment, the Sunbone was clearly twice as powerful as the old monsters Lin Ling met in the Crimson Province. Lin Ling did not say a word. He merged all of his world essence and turned it into a fist to fight against the wings. Rumble! The sound of the sky collapsing and the earth cracking resounded. The sky seemed to shatter into pieces. After the collision, a figure was immediately sent flying. It was Lin Ling's figure. He smashed into the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. It seemed that he couldn't block the Sunbone's attack at all. However, Lin Ling relaxed. He thought that the Sunbone would be very strong since he had unsealed the 2nd seal of the true God martial spirit. Looking at the meteors falling from the sky, falling flowers, flowing water, and the others were at a loss. Their thoughts seemed to have returned to a long time ago. At that time, Lin Ling, like them, had come to the Azure Province with dreams and goals. However, when they saw the ancient city for the first time, they only felt reverence and worship. And now, one of them, Lin Ling, finally had the strength to shake the Azure Province. It was as if to Lin Ling, this ancient city with endless history was nothing more than this. Sunbone, has he been defeated? After the explosions lasted for 3 incense sticks worth of time, people regained their calmness and looked around. Under a broken city wall, they saw Sunbone. Sunbone was not dead, but he was clearly much weaker. You have some ability to survive under my heaven and earth change. You are indeed much more powerful than those old monsters. Lin Ling naturally saw Sunbone too. At this moment, he said coldly and walked towards Sunbone step by step. I'll fight you like a dog. Sunbone, let's continue fighting. Everyone heard that heroic voice. Although they thought that Lin Ling should be very weak, they did not expect that Lin Ling's fighting spirit was still boiling. At this moment, Sunbone also stood up. His face was pale, and he spat out blood. Should he continue fighting? He was afraid. Right now, the Sun bloodline he activated was disappearing. How could he fight? I can't fight or I'll die. If I leave, I still have a chance to rise again. Sunbone's eyes kept flickering as he hurriedly fled in another direction. This guy is really going to run away. In Five Ring City, several young men said indifferently. They were the 9 heavens of the Azure province, so they knew Sunbone's personality very well. Chapter 2893. The Tyrannical Lin Ling. That Qing province's 9 great heavens laughed. His laughter was filled with pride and joy. That was indeed the case. How could Lin Ling escape with the Sunbone? Countless lives in the rainforest sacred land are watching you. You can't escape. At this moment, Lin Ling leaped out and chased after the Sunbone like the Azure Arch. Bastard, are you still trying to silence me? How can I let you do whatever you want in my territory? However, at this moment, a roar suddenly sounded, causing the sky to tremble. A dragon soared into the sky and covered the sun. The bloodline of the dragon ancestor was roaring. This person was obviously the Azure Dragon King. He was also shocked by Lin Ling's strength. However, he knew that this was the best opportunity. If he didn't kill Lin Ling now, he wouldn't have any more chances. Azure Dragon King, how dare you? In the distance, Vice Principal Gong and the others didn't expect the Azure Dragon King to attack Lin Ling. Lin Ling was in danger. Get lost. However, under the gazes of the crowd, Lin Ling was arrogant and unruly. He was not afraid in the face of the Lord of Four Ring City. He extended his left hand, and a vine grew wildly. It turned into a huge whip and ruthlessly lashed at the Azure Dragon King. On the other hand, the Azure Dragon King had already transformed into an incomparably huge primordial dragon. However, his dragon shadow actually turned illusory after being whipped. Rumble. Finally, he crashed to the ground. Oh my god! Such a scene had undoubtedly frightened all the overlords of Qing Prefecture. The Azure Dragon King, the Four Ring City Lord, was undoubtedly strong. He wasn't someone Lin Ling could fight against. However, such an ancient overlord was sent flying. Today, even gods and demons couldn't stop Lin Ling. How is this possible? At this moment, the Azure Dragon was rolling on the ground and crying out in shock. He realized that the whip didn't deal any fatal damage to him. However, it brought out his dragon bloodline. It was terrifying. Why is this Lin Ling so scary? Sunbone also saw what was happening behind him. He was like a cicada in winter as he frantically fled. Unfortunately, he was not faster than Lin Ling. Save me. Whoever saves me. I will hand over my son of heaven fate. He could only look up to the sky and roar, trying to grasp at the last straw of hope. Then let me save you. Your son of heaven fate belongs to me. Finally, a voice rang out and appeared in front of Sunbone. This was a man who looked like an emperor. He was wearing a gold and black robe, and his aura was wild and unruly. He was the sovereign marquis. His gaze was fixed on Lin Ling, who was shooting over from afar. His expression was extremely grave. This was because he had never expected that Lin Ling would possess the strength of one of the 9 great heavens of Qingzhou. Chapter 2894. Seeking the Son of Heaven's Mandate. Hearing those cold words, the entire Azure Dragon Divine Manor felt as if they were facing a great enemy. No one dared to look Lin Ling in the eye. They were completely afraid of the 9 great heavens of Azure State. As for the geniuses from the Resplendent Academy, their faces were filled with admiration and reverence. The entire Azure State watched as Lin Ling dragged the Sunbone, as if he was dragging a dog as he left Azure State. This guy dares to treat the 9 great heavens of Azure State like this. Now, he has taken the Sunbone's position and become one of the 9 great heavens of Azure State. Vice Principal Gong, Luo Riyao, and the others stared at Lin Ling. None of them had helped Lin Ling in his mission, but they had never thought that Lin Ling would succeed. He was able to fight against 4 divine dwellings by himself. "Second brother, wait for me!" Sakura shouted and chased after Lin Ling. He was also a member of the sacred ground of the rainforest, so he was qualified to help. The 2 brothers disappeared from Azure State, and no one dared to stop them. The great Azure Divine Dynasty was also shaken. All the magnates felt that a new star was rising, and he had become one of the 9 most dazzling stars in Azure State. In the chaotic universe, Lin Ling and Sakura walked side by side towards the sacred ground of the rainforest. "Big brother, you're one of the 9 great heavens of Azure State?" Lin Ling said in surprise. He knew that Sakura was strong, but he did not expect him to be one of the 9 great heavens of Azure State. "Hee, I wanted to tell you earlier, but you went missing some time ago, so I didn't have the time to tell you," Sakura laughed. However, Lin Ling felt warmth in his heart. Big brother did not want him to feel pressured, so he didn't say it. Then Lin Ling said, "The sacred ground of the rainforest has 2 enemies. One is the Divine Empress of the Great Azure Divine Dynasty. The other is Luo Shawthorn. Luo Shawthorn is missing. He obviously doesn't dare to face you," Sakura immediately said. "Damn, that bastard is cunning." "Don't worry. As long as he's in Azure State, he won't be able to escape." Lin Ling shook his head, not minding it at all. A moment later, Lin Ling and the young man landed in the rainforest's sacred land. Lin Ling once again laid down a barrier, using the power of heaven and earth to seal the sun bone, turning it into a stone tablet, enduring this torment for all eternity. "All right, how can we let them off so easily after killing the people of the rainforest holy land? Let them worship the dead commoners." Seeing the miserable state of the sun bone and Realgar, Sakura couldn't help but be overjoyed. At this moment, in the rainforest's sacred land, 2 gigantic stone tablets sat on the ground, surrounded by a large number of enchantments, causing the stone tablets to kneel there like sinners. 8 Gods' Heavenly Palace. Lin Ling, on the other hand, looked at the familiar giant tower. Now that he thought about it, this was his 3rd time entering it. 8 Gods' Heavenly Palace, the dead enter, the living flee. Outside the tower, the threatening stone tablet was still there. However, the people who had arrived at the 8 Gods' Heavenly Palace this time were much stronger than the last time. So no one feared the warning of the stone tablet. Without any hesitation, everyone stepped into the giant tower with anticipation. The first level was still filled with meteors. Rocks were floating in the void. This was the time and space of meteors. Rumble. Just as everyone entered, many people were immediately killed by the meteors. Of course, the true experts were extremely powerful. They could destroy the meteors with a single punch. TSK. Compared to the last time, the people entering the 8 Gods' Heavenly Palace this time are even more ferocious. Looking at the endless crowd in the starry sky, Lin Ling shook his head and laughed. If he remembered correctly, the last time they entered, everyone was chased by the meteors. Yes, the last time, you were the guide. In the distance, a figure walked over. It was Luo Riyao and a few others. The last time, it was Luo Riyao who had entered the 8 Gods' Heavenly Palace with Lin Ling and the others. At that time, Lin Ling was still the weakest martial artist. But now, Lin Ling was already a great figure that could not be underestimated in the Qing province. "Be careful, meteors!" Suddenly, someone shouted at Lin Ling. But just as his words fell, Lin Ling had already attacked. Surging boundary essence erupted, and a fist exploded that meteor. This action also attracted the attention of the crowd. Many of them looked over with complicated gazes. "This is Lin Ling of the 9 heavens of the Qing province? You have some strength, but you're only at the true immortal realm. You're weaker than I thought." A sarcastic voice suddenly sounded. A skinny young man looked at Lin Ling and said, "Second brother, this is the 76th prince, Qing Qiyu. He's at the 3rd level of the martial immortal realm. He's arrogant because of his high cultivation. He doesn't put the 9 heavens in his eyes. Rumor has it that if he wants to be one of the 9 heavens, the other heavens are nothing." At this time Sakura said, "Moreover, the The son of Emperor Qing can't be one of the 9 heavens. This is the rule. Luo Riyao said. Lin Ling nodded. But in the next moment his expression changed slightly. This was because a meteor was shooting over from afar. It was extremely dazzling in the starry sky. Most importantly, this meteor was bigger than the previous ones. Moreover, Lin Ling saw that it was the 76th prince, Qing Qiyu, who had attacked him. The meteor was obviously aimed at Qing Qiyu, but the latter had lured the meteor to his side. Your Highness, are you all right? It was just reborn in another place. Lin Ling, you're courting death. After killing the Snake of Light, the 76th prince did not feel proud. Instead he was furious. Are you the 72nd prince or the 75th prince? Forget it. You're just a 70-year-old prince. I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. Lin Ling replied calmly as he floated in the sky. This was an eye for an eye. Anyone who wasn't a fool would know that Lin Ling was scheming against the 76th prince. Moreover, Lin Ling had not been in a sorry state when he destroyed the 5 meteors. However, the 76th prince was facing a divine beast of the falling meteor space, so he was in a sorry state. With such a comparison, the 76th prince was obviously at a disadvantage. You're courting death. The 76th prince had never suffered such humiliation before. The other magnates also pointed at Lin Ling and shouted angrily. They were saying that Lin Ling had affected the unity of the 4 magnates. Some were even angry and wanted to chase Lin Ling away. In this mysterious galaxy, no one can control it. That was an accident. However, Lin Ling was not afraid at all. He returned all the words they had said before. This time, everyone was speechless. That's right, it was an accident. The 3rd princess also said at the critical moment. Good. Lin Ling, I'll remember you. The 76th prince could not find an excuse to flare up. He could only sulk secretly. Thank you, but don't remember me for too long. I'm afraid you'll hurt your body. Lin Ling shrugged indifferently. You. The 76th prince coldly snorted and strode forward. However, he didn't walk for long before he saw the Snake of Light again in the distant starry sky. This made him so angry that he erupted like a volcano. It turned out that he had used all his strength, but still hadn't been able to kill the Snake of Light. Of course, the falling meteor space snake did not stop him this time. However, when others wanted to step into the next level, the light snake would appear and stop them. If there was an accident, it would be Lin Ling. Lin Ling even smiled at the falling meteor space snake. The light snake looked back at him with a human-like gaze and allowed Lin Ling to enter the next level. Why is this happening? Such unfair treatment had undoubtedly infuriated all the magnates. Haha, second brother is still the best. The Sakura laughed excitedly. Although he did not know how Lin Ling did it, it was obvious that Lin Ling had angered the magnates to death. In fact, he did not know that this was the 3rd time Lin Ling had faced the falling meteor space snake. Especially the first time, when Li Xiaoyao faced the falling meteor space snake, he had fought countless battles with the light snake. They were rivals but also friends. The falling meteor space snake had obviously recognized Lin Ling, so its attitude towards Lin Ling was different. Big brother, I'll go in first. Lin Ling was already heading towards the end. He was familiar with the path as if he was at home. He knew that everyone would be separated after entering the 2nd level. Therefore, it was useless to wait for the Sakura and the rest. Okay. Seeing Lin Ling disappear without a trace, the Sakura immediately nodded. As for the 3rd princess in the distance, her brows were tightly knitted together. She felt that Lin Ling seemed to be very familiar with the 8 gods' heavenly palace. Could it be that everything was like what Grandma Wendao said? If she wanted to find that thing, it would be best to seek help from Lin Ling? However, asking her to put down her pride and seek help from Lin Ling, she still could not put down her pride. On the other side, several mysterious people's eyes flickered. I heard that Lin Ling has been to the 8 gods' heavenly palace before and acted as a guide. Is that true? That's right, he was the one who led the way the last time. A cloaked person at the side replied. Last time, you and Sunbone participated in the trip to the 8 gods' heavenly palace. If that's the case, what you said is true. Good, send someone to follow Lin Ling. Maybe we can get some treasures. One of the cloaked people said indifferently. Prince is still the one who thought it through. Another person said with a smile. He took off his cloak and revealed a face that Lin Ling was familiar with. It was Luo Shaxiai. Last time, he and Sun Bone participated in the trip to the Eight Gods' heavenly palace. Therefore, he knew that Lin Ling was very familiar with the Eight Gods' heavenly palace. He even thought that Lin Ling had obtained some benefits from the Eight Gods' heavenly palace to become one of the 9 great heavenly palace. Of course, this benefit now belonged to them. As for the second level, the earth element ground, Lin Ling had appeared there. This place was filled with yellow sand, and all kinds of powerful demonic beasts were hidden. Chapter 2899. The water elemental land. However, this time, Lin Ling did not linger on this level. He went straight to the third level, because there were no more treasures here that could attract him. The third level was the water elemental land. In his memories, there was a treasure here called the seawater heart flower. It was an extremely rare heavenly treasure. It was said that this flower gathered the souls of the sea from 10,000 worlds and could greatly enhance one's physical body. Right now, Lin Ling's soul power had increased greatly. His cultivation had also increased, but his physical body had not improved by much. Therefore, he needed to increase his physical strength. With his essence, qi, and soul cultivation, the 3 realms had to be balanced in order to form the 4th Dantian. Are you Sir Lin Ling? Not long after, Lin Ling met a stranger who seemed to know him. I'm from the imperial court. That person came from afar and waved his hand as he explained. More and more people appeared in the distance. They were also from the imperial court. Obviously, the treasures on the second level did not catch their eyes. They had also come to the third level. It's good to see you all. Help me find the black pool. Lin Ling replied with a smile. It would be difficult for him to find the seawater heart flower on the third level alone. Therefore, he needed help. The third prince said that if we meet Sir Lin Ling in the imperial court, we must listen to Sir Lin Ling's words. Those from the imperial court immediately bowed and replied, Are you Sir Lin Ling? I admire you so much. Please let me follow you. At this time, another person came. It was a young man with a face full of acne. Lin Ling frowned slightly. He was somewhat familiar with this person. Then his eyes lit up. Wasn't this the follower of the 76th prince? The great Azure Divine Dynasty has ordered that the 4 magnates should work together in the 8 gods' heavenly palace. We are not allowed to fight among ourselves. That person seemed to know that Lin Ling recognized him. So he was afraid that Lin Ling would chase him away. He quickly spoke again. You're right. Then follow us. Upon hearing this, Lin Ling sneered in his heart as he nodded indifferently. Soon after, he strode forward. The young man with acne secretly laughed and said, This Lin Ling is really too stupid. Isn't keeping me by your side the same as keeping a wolf by your side? He thought that he had gained Lin Ling's trust, so he knew some of Lin Ling's secrets. Perhaps he could steal some treasures. Unfortunately, he did not see that Lin Ling led the group forward and looked into the distance. In this water elemental land, the sky was filled with puddles of water. It was as if pieces of mirrors left behind by the ancient gods had fallen onto the ground, emitting a precious light. As for the water of the earth, it was a pretty good treasure. It was called First Cloud Heaven water, and was even rarer than Pinnacle Life water. However, the people present were not weak, so no one was interested in these treasures. Cultivators with talents. Heavenly Palace. I've entered the martial immortal realm. Heavenly heavens. In every corner of the third level, excited voices rang out unceasingly. Rainbows soared into the sky. This was the characteristic of breaking through to the true God realm. But all of this had nothing to do with Lin Ling. He was still searching for the seawater heart flower. At the same time, an Imperial Dynasty member sent news that he found a different puddle. It was black in color. After hearing the news, Lin Ling led everyone and rushed over. After a long time, he also arrived at that area. He suddenly discovered that the boundless waters ahead were like ink, completely black and extremely mysterious. Your Excellency Lin Ling, is this the place? Someone gravely looked at Lin Ling and asked. What made Lin Ling surprised was that the person who found this water region was Xian Linglong. As for Xian Linglong, she met the people from the imperial court and knew that Lin Ling was looking for a rare treasure, so she joined in. Now that she saw Lin Ling, her attitude was extremely polite. I didn't expect it to be you, Xian Linglong. But where is Menglu? Lin Ling had a good impression of Xian Linglong. Although this woman was extremely snobbish, at least she had helped Lin Ling before. We separated. He should still be on the 3rd level. Of course, he might have entered the 4th level. Because this level is full of treasures of water, they are useless to him, Xian Linglong said with a smile. Then she asked, Lin Ling, are there any treasures here? Hearing this, Lin Ling activated 10,000 elephant magic eyes and looked at the black puddle. Then he smiled and said, This is North Star primordial water. It is more precious than First Cloud heavenly water. It has the effect of strengthening one's soul. It should be here. North Star heavenly water? I've heard of this treasure, but I didn't expect it to be like this. Everyone was delighted and quickly collected it. Lin Ling did the same. However, his goal was the seawater heart flower, so he was still searching for this treasure. Could it be in the water? Suddenly Lin Ling's eyes lit up. Then he became more and more certain. Everyone, get ready to enter the water with me. The treasure I'm looking for is inside. Lin Ling instructed everyone. Everyone nodded. If they followed Lin Ling, they would get more benefits than ordinary people. Haha, Lin Ling, looks like you found a good treasure. Good, I'm also very interested in this treasure land. Just as everyone was about to enter the pool, 3 dragons of various colors flew over from the sky. 3 men stood on the dragons. They were 2 old men and a young man. All of them wore dragon robes and had extraordinary auras. Imperial Censor Dragon Court? The eyes of the people in the Imperial Court lit up. However, the 3 of them were not weak. They were all martial immortals. The young man was even a level 3 martial immortal. However, although he looked young, it was very likely that he had been cultivating for a long time. Otherwise, with his cultivation, he would have been one of the 9 heavens. I am Long Tang, the guardian of the carp leaping over Dragon Gate. After the young man jumped down, he smiled faintly at Lin Ling dragon bloodline. Lin Ling's eyes flashed. The carp leaping over Dragon Gate was a special feature of the universe. Many dragons were born there. The ancestor dragon Granny was one of them. He did not expect this young man to be one too. That's right. Let's not talk about this for now. We've been paying attention to this treasure land for a long time. However, you've beaten us to it. Of course, the 4 of us are working together in this trip to the 8 gods' heavenly palace. So let's explore the treasure land together. The young man said again. The dragon horn on his forehead shone even more brightly. Damn it, we're the ones who came first. How shameless. Hearing that, the people in the imperial court cursed secretly. Due to the other party's identity, they did not dare to do anything. However, Lin Ling smiled and said, Sure. As soon as he said that, the people of the imperial court were very unwilling, because they felt that this expert called Long Tang had definitely followed them here in secret. Not good. This Long Tang is one of the 99th prince's people. I didn't expect the 99th prince to also have his eyes on Lin Ling. The young man who had been following at the side cursed secretly. He was one of the 76th prince's people, while the other party was the 99th prince. His background was even greater than his. He did not expect Lin Ling to be so popular that even the 99th prince's people had come. However, he was confident that if they encountered treasures, although he could not compare to Long Tang, he would definitely obtain more than Lin Ling. Chapter 2900. Big Seawater Heart Flower. Lin Ling, be careful. They will strike first when they encounter a treasure. Xian Linglong secretly transmitted her voice to Lin Ling. She was afraid that Lin Ling would not know about the enemy's scheme. Hee, they want to snatch the treasure that I Lin Ling want. It's not that I Lin Ling am arrogant, but they are too inexperienced. Lin Ling quietly replied. Then, he flew above the black water and looked down with his 10,000 demonic eyes. These black waters were like pieces of black gemstones, motionless and unmoving. Then, Lin Ling saw mysterious cyclones spiraling out from one of the waters like invisible dragons. This pool was different from the others. There must be a strange treasure here. It should be there. A smile immediately appeared on Lin Ling's face, and everyone else was overjoyed. I will go first. The young man with a face full of pimples stepped forward and said, the 4 magnates want to work together on this trip, so let me take vanguard, Ma. If we encounter any danger, I will block it and protect Sir Lin Ling at all costs. His words sounded nice, as if he was Lin Ling's servant, but in fact he wanted to strike first to gain the upper hand. Wait, you stay here and guard the outside in case of any accidents. However, Lin Ling stopped him. What? I will guard the outside. Aren't I a guard dog? The young man's pupils constricted. If he could not enter the water, he would not be able to obtain any treasure. He immediately shouted, I will not go. I am the 76th prince's follower. I will not be a guard dog. Hee, because you are the prince's follower, your status is high enough. Therefore you can guard the water. Evil spirits and demons do not dare to come close. This job is yours. Lin Ling smiled casually. The young man was so angry that he gritted his teeth. He wanted to be Lin Ling's ingrate, but in the end he became a guard dog. No matter what you say, I will not go. The young man shook his head desperately, but Lin Ling walked over to him and asked softly, do you agree or not? Lin Ling's eyes were very calm, but they were mixed with killing intent. That gaze made the young man's whole body tremble. He knew that if Lin Ling really wanted to kill him, he would not care if he was the heir's man. If he angered Lin Ling, he would kill him without hesitation. Lin Ling was just that crazy. I agree. The young man nodded gloomily. Not only did he fail to be an ingrate, he even became a watchdog. Haha. Seeing this, the people from the imperial dynasty laughed. Lin Ling also took the lead and shot into the water. With a splash, he disappeared into the black water. What was shocking was that this water was extremely heavy, as if it was the force of a world. However, none of the people here were weak. Powerful realm essence appeared on the surface of their bodies, and they all disappeared into the water. As they rushed down, it was pitch black. Those with weak willpower would not be able to endure the loneliness for more than 3 incense sticks' time. Fortunately, this feeling did not last long. Soon, everyone rushed out of the black water area. What appeared before them was an endless black mountain. Rolling waterfalls came crashing down. It was actually the Bachan origin water. On the ground, there were many black plants that looked like thorns. It was very strange. However, on the black thorns, there were small black flowers growing out. Dense realm essence spiritual energy filled the air. Could this be the legendary black forbidden medicine? Among the crowd, Xian Ling Long exclaimed, this is a treasure comparable to an imperial crystal. However, this treasure has a taboo. That is, you cannot consume more than 49 flowers. If you exceed that amount, not only will your cultivation level not increase, but it will also decrease. That is why it is called the Black Forbidden Medicine. I have also heard of this legend. In the land of the 9 prefectures, only one person has successfully consumed 50 Black Forbidden Medicine, and his cultivation level did not decrease. Instead, his strength increased greatly. The others also spoke one after another. They were extremely excited. They did not expect to encounter such a treasure so soon. Long Tang and the 2 old men had already started to collect the flowers. Lin Ling was also doing the same. They collected all the small black flowers around them. Even if each person could only consume 49 flowers, they could give them to their friends in exchange for treasures. Then, everyone went on their way again. They did not encounter any heavenly treasures along the way. However, very soon rumbling sounds came from the front. Moreover, the sounds were very loud. As they moved forward, the rumbling sounds were as if they were going to break a world. Some of the weaker people were so shocked that their ears started to bleed. They hurriedly covered their ears with realm essence. Only then did they manage to stop a small part of the sound. What is this sound? It sounds like the sound of a heavenly drum. Xian Ling Long shouted beside Lin Ling. She was afraid that Lin Ling could not hear her. However, Lin Ling was the only one who was unaffected. Because his body was very strong, his eardrums seemed to have been tempered by iron water. He smiled and said, "It seems like we are about to reach our destination." After saying that, he strode forward. The eyes of Long Tang, and the others behind him lit up. Although they had obtained the black forbidden medicine, the greed of humans was obviously not limited to that. Not long after, everyone finally saw the source of the sound. Then they were all stunned, because there was a clear pond in front of them. There was a small blue flower in the pond. The small flower was transparent and did not emit any spiritual energy. However, around the small flower, the rolling sea water sprinkled down like a heavenly river. Moreover, the sea water was of different colors. There was a sea of lightning, a sea of ice, and a sea of fire. When the sea water crashed down, the sound was like thunder. It turned out that the deafening sound came from the sea water crashing down. This water is probably the Sea of 10,000 Worlds. Moreover, it is drowned by the Sea of 10,000 Worlds. That flower is actually safe and sound. Everyone was shocked, because even they could not withstand the impact of the Sea of 10,000 Worlds. However, that small flower could. It was really extraordinary. This is the big seawater heart flower. Wow! Lin Ling was also shocked. This was the first time he had seen the big seawater heart flower. Of course, he was also shocked by the flower. If a human's body was tempered by the Sea of 10,000 Worlds, it would reach an unimaginable height. However, at this moment, Long Tang sneered and took the lead to shoot forward with the other two old men. This action had undoubtedly shocked everyone. Could it be that Long Tang wanted to strike first to gain the upper hand? Long Tang, you are too shameless. Long Tang cursed angrily. Xian Linglong cursed angrily. They were the ones who found the blessed enclave first. Lin Ling allowed them to participate in the operation because of the rules set by the four magnates. In the end, when they saw the treasure, they made the first move. Your Excellency Lin Ling, don't let them succeed. The people of the imperial court looked at Lin Ling and said. However, Lin Ling frowned and did not do anything. Haha, Lin Ling, thank you. After this treasure is mine, I will give you some compensation. Long Tang's complacent voice could be heard. The ninth prince is really good at foresight. He knew that Lin Ling was a guide and was familiar with the 8 gods' heavenly palace. Therefore, he asked us to find Lin Ling and follow him. This trip was not in vain. The two old men said with a smile. Chapter 2901. The 4 great beasts of the universe. They will definitely fail. Xian Linglong gritted her teeth and suddenly said. This was because the seawater heartflower was surrounded by all kinds of seas from the myriad worlds. There was a sea of lightning, a sea of ice, and a sea of fire. Ordinary people could not get close. Come out 3,000 dragon scale umbrella. But at this time, Long Tang waved his right hand, and a roar came out. The shadow of a dragon appeared, and then the huge dragon exploded. Its scales sputtered out and turned into a multicolored umbrella. The 3 of them held the umbrella and blocked the sea of myriad worlds as they walked step by step towards the seawater heartflower. 3,000 dragon scale umbrella? Xian Linglong's eyes fiercely trembled. This was an existence that surpassed immortal treasures. It was an extreme treasure. Extreme, the ultimate intent. Any treasure that could become an extreme treasure was an existence that could shake the 9 provinces. Its creation was very difficult, but once it was created, it would definitely have a heaven-defying power. As for the multicolored umbrella, Xian Linglong had heard that it was made from the dragon scales of 3,000 dragons. Moreover, each dragon only wanted 1 scale, and that scale was the reverse scale. Such a precious extreme treasure would require more than 10,000 years to create. Haha, I have disappointed you all. Lin Ling, I know that you must be very angry. You spent so much effort only to end up with someone else's wedding dress. But so what if you are angry? Come and destroy my country. Come and kill me. Let's see who is stronger, you or the 99th prince. Under the umbrella, the 3 of them were laughing with extreme arrogance. At this moment, they had clearly taken off their masks. Even the 99th prince, who had reached the 4th level, couldn't help but smile because he received news from Long Tang that Long Tang's group had taken Lin Ling's treasure. Not bad at all. Only Lin Ling is not my match. This time, we took his treasure and suppressed his spirit. We will let him know who is the master of the great Azure Divine Dynasty. He faintly smiled and said. Hee, with Lin Ling's arrogant personality, he must be bursting with rage right now. However, Lord Long Tang and the others have the 3,000 dragon scale umbrellas, and Lin Ling can't do anything to them. Haha, I can't wait to see Lin Ling's current appearance. Beside him, the Luo Sha Thorn also trembled with excitement when he heard the news. They were like the people behind the scenes, toying with Lin Ling. Bastard! At this moment, in the blessed enclave, the eyes of the imperial court's people turned red with anger. They all looked at Lin Ling, but what surprised them was that Lin Ling's expression was still calm. He was as calm as the clouds in the sky. Your Excellency Lin Ling, what is the meaning of this? Xian Linglong frowned, because this was not in line with Lin Ling's character. Lin Ling said indifferently, the seawater heart flower is a treasure of the universe. How can such a precious treasure not have a powerful divine beast guarding it? Hearing this, Xian Linglong's eyes trembled violently. Almost at the same time, under the blue flower, bubbles appeared on the surface of the water. Then, a large patch of green hair floated up, followed by a pair of bull horns. A ferocious aura quietly spread out. Rumble! The entire cave started to shake, and even the myriad worlds sea started to flow backwards. This change caused Long Tang and the other two's expressions to change drastically. The 3,000 dragon scale umbrellas above their heads seemed to be on the verge of disintegrating. What kind of terrifying existence was this to be able to shake an extreme-grade weapon? Finally, under the blue flower, a ferocious beast slowly floated up. It had a head of long green hair, and it looked like a ferocious god. However, its body was like a lion, and there were bull horns on its head. Most importantly, in the thick hair, there were 4 pairs of eyes, and they slowly opened. The moment they opened their eyes, a terrifying ferocious aura burst out. Whoosh! The 3,000 dragon scale umbrellas in Long Tang, and the others' hands were blown into pieces by the ferocious aura. Roar! The 4-eyed lion beast with dragon horns opened its mouth, bared its fangs and roared angrily. Puff! Long Tang and the others immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. They no longer looked as smug as before. Instead, they looked as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Let's go! At the same time, Lin Ling's expression changed. He called for everyone to leave quickly. Xian Linglong and the others were trembling with fear. They followed Lin Ling, and on the way they asked anxiously, Your Excellency Lin Ling, what is that? Tao Tai, one of the 4 ferocious beasts of the universe. It is as famous as the Tao Wu, Hun Dun and Xiong Qi. Lin Ling said word by word. He was also shocked. In his previous life, Li Xiaoyao had never seen a real ferocious beast. He did not expect that Lin Ling would have the chance to see one in this life. One of the 4 ferocious beasts of the universe. Hearing this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. However, that is a cub. Otherwise, it would be a disaster. Lin Ling said. Earlier, he had felt that the Tao Tai only possessed the strength of a 4th-level martial immortal. However, due to its name as a ferocious beast, it was likely capable of killing a 5th-level martial immortal. The true Tao Tai was not that simple. Cub, doesn't that mean Long Tang and the others have a chance? Xian Linglong said worriedly. What a joke. Even if the 4 ferocious beasts of the universe have just been born, they are not something that ordinary people can stop. Now Long Tang and the others have blocked it for us. Otherwise, we might not have been able to escape. As for them, they would have died. Lin Ling said disdainfully. Hearing that, everyone laughed. Previously, Long Tang and the other 2 were so proud of themselves. Now they had made a wedding dress for them. Rumble! At the same time, it was as if the sky and earth were collapsing behind them. The ferocious aura was like a cloud of gas that could devour everything, destroying everything. Ah no! Lin Ling, save me. Don't leave. Even the painful cries of Long Tang and the others could be faintly heard. Unfortunately, Lin Ling and the others did not save them. Instead, they ran even faster. Long Tang and the others wanted to snatch the treasure. Now they would pay the price. At the same time, on the 4th floor, the 99th prince saw that the life plate in his hand had shattered. He was stunned on the spot. Long Tang is dead. What? Everyone who was laughing just now felt as if they had been slapped in the face. They were speechless. Is it Lin Ling? The Luo Sha Thorn was the most furious. Why was Lin Ling so difficult to deal with? Maybe it's him, maybe it's not. The 99th prince strode forward. His expression was extremely cold. It was obvious that he was in a bad mood. At that moment, Lin Ling and the others rushed out of the black waters. Each of them looked as if they had just survived a disaster. The guard dog was still there. When he saw Lin Ling, he immediately asked, "Did you get any treasures? What treasures are there down there?" "There are treasures down there. Go and get them. We'll guard this place," Lin Ling said with a smile. "That's great. I'll go down then." The young man with the pimples on his face was overjoyed and wanted to rush down. However, he did not let his excitement get to his head. He immediately reacted and asked with a smile, "That, Your Excellency Lin Ling, what about Long Tang and the others?" "Dead." Lin Ling did not even look at him, as he replied indifferently, "Plop." Chapter 2902. Meng Lu entered the martial immortal realm. Everyone burst into laughter when they saw his expression. This young man had followed Lin Ling and thought that he would be able to take advantage of him. In the end, he was being toyed around by Lin Ling like a dog. After escaping from the beasts, everyone gradually relaxed. Xian Linglong looked at Lin Ling and said, "Your Excellency Lin Ling, what do we do now? I'm afraid we have to give up on the seawater heart flower. I plan to cultivate in seclusion." Lin Ling pondered for a moment and said slowly, "Cultivate in seclusion here?" Everyone opened their mouths wide. It was rare for the 8 gods' heavenly palace to come here. Everyone was looking for treasures, but Lin Ling was cultivating in seclusion here? Wouldn't that be a waste of a golden opportunity? However, they did not try to persuade Lin Ling. After all, although this was not the best place to break through, many people had broken through here. Lin Ling planned to cultivate in seclusion because he did not want to give up on the seawater heart flower. He could not give it up. Therefore, only by breaking through could he defeat the 4 great ferocious beasts. Soon everyone left. Lin Ling found a quiet place and prepared to cultivate in seclusion. Xian Linglong and the others were still looking for treasures on the 3rd floor. On the way, they met many people from the imperial court and the other 3 magnates. "What? Lin Ling is cultivating in seclusion?" They were all shocked when they heard that Lin Ling was cultivating in seclusion. Lin Ling is at the peak of the true god realm. He is cultivating in seclusion to enter the martial immortal realm. However, it is very difficult to enter the martial immortal realm. He might fail. That's right. If he fails, his cultivation will be greatly reduced. Many people were gloating over his misfortune. Breaking through to the martial immortal realm was a big matter. Ordinary people would prepare for 10 years, or even 100 or 1,000 years. Then, they would find a quiet place to calm their mind before choosing to break through. However, Lin Ling chose this place and was anxious to break through. This was obviously not a good choice. Right at this time, in the distant 3rd layer, immortal light rushed into the heavens, multicolored light endless. A 7-colored rainbow appeared, as if an immortal was being born. Another person has entered the martial immortal realm. Everyone looked in that direction, and then walked over curiously. The martial immortal realm, the immortal realm, was the basic strength that allowed one to move about unhindered in the 9 provinces. Those who had stepped into the martial immortal realm could shake the entire Azure province. Thus, the crowd wanted to know who it was that had become a martial immortal, and which martial immortal had appeared in the Azure province. Furthermore, breaking through to the martial celestial realm was very dangerous. If one was careless, one would fail. At that time, one's cultivation would decrease greatly. It was even possible for one to drop down to the true god realm. Even if one wanted to break through again, it would be very difficult. Therefore, some people with bad intentions liked to cause trouble when others were breaking through. Too slow. However, this time many old monsters were slow. It was because the 7-colored rainbow in the sky had already taken form. This meant that that person successfully broke through. If the rainbow collapsed, the breakthrough would fail. 7-colored rainbow. That's an incredible existence. Ordinary people are only 3-colored rainbows. An old monster said enviously. He must be a genius. Rumble. At this time, in a massive body of water, waves of water erupted into the heavens. Then, the illusion of the demon god's tomb appeared in the skies. A white-haired youth slowly walked out from the water. The water from the skies sprinkled down, but none of it was able to approach him. Meng Lu. In the crowd, Xian Linglong was the first to cry out in surprise. It's a genius of the imperial court. Damn it, a genius actually broke through. Seeing that, the old monsters of the various big powers were annoyed. If the other party was an old monster, even if he had entered the martial immortal realm, he would not be a big threat. However, it was different for a genius. Once a person entered the martial immortal realm, their battle strength would increase by several times. No wonder it's a 7-colored rainbow. Damn it, we should have come earlier. There were a few people who broke through on the 3rd floor. However, they had water talent and used the right time and place to break through. However, this Meng Lu does not have water talent. How could he break through? He must have obtained some benefits. The spectators discussed animatedly, and their words were filled with envy. After all, everyone was selfish, and it was especially so for the overlords of Pine Prefecture. They didn't want to see a rising star surpass them. At the same time, the big powers on the 4th floor also received the news. Not bad, not bad. Our imperial court has another fierce general. The 3rd princess could not help but be happy. Meng Lu, the genius who challenged the 9 heavens? That's really amazing. Yes, the imperial court has Meng Lu, Xian Linglong, and the most terrifying Lin Ling. The imperial court cannot be underestimated. The big powers said coldly. They felt very uncomfortable. At that moment, all the experts on the 3rd floor were still shocked by Meng Lu's breakthrough. Congratulations, Meng Lu. Xian Linglong stood in the sky and smiled at Meng Lu. The latter was the only one she could not see through, and he did not disappoint her. Meng Lu had broken through. If Lin Ling had broken through, then the imperial court's momentum would definitely increase. Where is Lin Ling? Meng Lu retracted his aura and walked towards Xian Linglong like an immortal. His aura was obviously different from before. His realm essence was stronger and mixed with immortal qi. He could change the world. He was with me before, but he is now in seclusion. I don't know if he is breaking through or comprehending martial arts. Xian Linglong immediately said. Then she smiled. You have always wanted to surpass Lin Ling. This time, you should not be weaker than Lin Ling. That's right. I have always wanted to surpass him. Only by surpassing him can I be considered to have completed the first stage of the martial path. I can also go home. Originally, I thought it would only take 10 years to return to the family. However, Lin Ling's appearance delayed me for a long time. Meng Lu also smiled. This was the first time he had smiled. However, he soon let out a long sigh. Although I've made a breakthrough, I have a feeling that I'm still no match for Lin Ling unless I reach the 3rd level of the martial immortal realm. Is the gap between you two that big? Hearing this, Xian Linglong's eyes trembled violently. She said in surprise, You are the successor of the 9 provinces' 10 evils. What can I do? That guy is a freak. Meng Lu's smile turned into a bitter smile. Moreover, if Lin Ling is not comprehending martial arts but trying to break through, the gap between us will not shrink. Instead, it will grow further. At this moment, Lin Ling was hiding in a body of water. He was in seclusion to break through. He had obtained a large amount of black forbidden medicine. It was enough for him to break through. However, the black forbidden medicine had a restriction. He could not obtain more than 40 of them. The jade pendant that Grandma Wendao gave me has gathered a large amount of mysterious spiritual qi. It will reduce the difficulty of breaking through. Together with the black forbidden medicine, it should be enough. Lin Ling did not break through immediately. Instead, he calmed his mind and focused. In his mind, Li Xiaoyao's past experiences of cultivation kept floating in his mind. Begin. Chapter 2903. 12 Rainbows shocked Qingzhou. The small flowers were stuffed into his mouth and turned into a black stream, merging with the aura emitted by the jade pendant on his waist. His dantian had also undergone an earth-shattering change. The boundary river that stored the boundary essence had collapsed and was quietly transforming into a boundary sea. However, the smoothness of the breakthrough this time was beyond Lin Ling's imagination. There was no need for 49 black forbidden herbs. Around 40 of them were enough for a wisp of divine qi to appear like clouds and mist. As for the Dantian's boundary sea, it was shrouded in clouds and mist. Right now, the boundary essence in the first Dantian was more than 3 times larger than usual. Moreover, a mysterious feeling arose spontaneously, making Lin Ling feel as if he had reached the void of the universe. He saw the ancient gods, the great Tao of the universe, and the creation of heaven and earth. Rumble. At the same time, a miracle was born. Above the water area where Lin Ling was, a 7-colored rainbow appeared. It was like a bridge that allowed Lin Ling to reach the other side of martial arts. Oh my god, someone has broken through again. It's also a 7-colored rainbow. What a solid rainbow. It means that this person is very talented. Which overlord is this genius? Currently, among the 4 overlords, the ones most likely to break through are Lin Ling, Tian Rui, Yuan Junzi, and the Eastern Crown Prince. Among the 4 of them, in terms of combat power and talent, Lin Ling is the most qualified. Could it be Lin Ling? The 3rd level exploded. The martial artists who were looking for treasures all looked serious. Moreover, Lin Ling was a popular person in the Great Azure Divine Dynasty. Therefore, in the 4th level, those experts were also frowning. Damn it, I came to the 4th level, but he broke through in the 3rd level. I missed the chance to cause trouble. Thundersound Mother was furious. In fact, she had been looking for Lin Ling. However, Lin Ling played hide and seek with her, so she couldn't find him. Now that he had broken through in front of her eyes, she couldn't do anything. Is it really Lin Ling? The 99 princes, the left minister's residence, the leader of the Blue Flame Army, the overlords, and the magnates were all paying attention to Lin Ling's breakthrough. They even hurriedly ordered the people on the 3rd level to cause trouble. Although this would anger Lin Ling, if Lin Ling failed to break through, he would also be a cripple. What was there to be afraid of? At that moment, Lin Ling had officially entered the martial immortal realm. His powerful strength nearly caused him to roar toward the sky. However, he managed to calm himself down. The reason for that was because this was only the breakthrough of his first Dantian. He wanted to borrow this momentum to break through his second Dantian as well. The second Dantian was the space-time flame. When the power of the black forbidden medicine surged into the second Dantian, a strange change occurred in the sky. Multicolored light shot out in all directions, and thousands of streaks of auspicious colors appeared. The appearance of the 12-colored rainbow shocked the entire 8 gods' heavenly palace. Even the Great Azure God Dynasty had taken action. A 12-colored rainbow represented an extremely powerful talent. It had been many years since someone like that had appeared in Qing State. We must stop him. Damn it! Damn it! Where did he get the treasure to break through? Previously, I received news that Lin Ling had obtained the black forbidden medicine and could consume 49 of them. He must have broken through with the help of this treasure. Those magnates could no longer remain calm. They even had the intention to charge into the 3rd level and risk their lives to stop Lin Ling. As for the cultivators on the 3rd level, they all sucked in a breath of cold air and flew toward the rainbow. Rainbow Bridge, Immortal Bridge, 12-colored rainbow. TSK, he must be Lin Ling. Meng Lu was also moving forward with excitement. In fact, the stronger Lin Ling was, the less he was jealous. That was because Lin Ling was the target that he wanted to surpass. If he were to surpass Lin Ling one day, it would mean that his strength was even more powerful than he had imagined. It could be said that Lin Ling was a banner that led him forward on the path of martial arts. The things that he could not do, the world that he could not see through, were created by Lin Ling for him to follow. Rumble. A huge 12-colored rainbow floated in the sky, as if it was the ruler of the world. At that moment, a large number of cultivators had gathered around the rainbow. The old monsters of the 10,000 realms and the Qing province were all red-eyed. They were risking their lives to stop Lin Ling from breaking through. As for the people of the imperial court, they were naturally there too. However, their faces were pale because with their strength, they could not stop the experts from all sides. However, at that moment, Lin Ling did not know that his breakthrough had attracted experts from all sides. Instead, he was happy. That was because his 2 Dantians had successfully entered the martial immortal realm, causing his strength to increase greatly. This kind of success was beyond imagination. What was left was the third dantian. The third dantian was the thunder dantian, which was also the weakest dantian. The first dantian used 40 black forbidden medicine, the second dantian used 30, and there are still 9 black forbidden medicine left. Lin Ling quickly swallowed it. However, he discovered that the power of 9 black forbidden medicine was not enough to break through. Although the thunder dantian is very weak, it requires a lot of power. Do I have to swallow another one? Lin Ling thought to himself. He was a little hesitant. After all, the taboo of the black forbidden medicine was 49. If he swallowed another one, it would depend on his luck. However, most of them failed and their cultivation decreased greatly. Therefore, Lin Ling did not have much confidence. One had to know that others would fail when breaking through one dantian. However, he had succeeded in both dantians. If he wanted to succeed in the third dantian, it would be even more difficult. Most importantly, breaking through 3 dantians at the same time was unprecedented in the 9 provinces. It's fine. The third dantian is a secondary dantian. Even if my cultivation decreased greatly, I can use treasures to recover it. The main thing is that the main dantian is not affected. Lin Ling was very clear about the Chaos Divine formula. The main dantian was the most important. The secondary dantian could never surpass the main dantian. Therefore, even if the secondary dantian collapsed, he could rely on the Chaos Divine formula to cultivate a new dantian, not to mention a collapsed dantian. I'll risk it. I don't believe that my luck will be so bad. Lin Ling began to swallow the black forbidden medicine. He felt that the spiritual energy here wasn't enough, so he swallowed another 5. Rumble, rumble, rumble. His third dantian was like a thunderstorm. A black flood rushed in, stirring up a storm of blood. But it was clear that he had failed this time. He didn't know if it was because of the taboo of the black forbidden medicine, or because his third dantian's background was insufficient. His third dantian had collapsed and he had fallen to the World King realm. Lin Ling bitterly smiled. It seemed that recultivating his third dantian would take a great deal of time. However, he wasn't annoyed. This was because he didn't have much confidence in breaking through 3 dantians at the same time. Even if he failed this time, he could continue the next time. It was as simple as eating and drinking. It wasn't a big deal. Attack! At this time, all around the water region, the martial artists couldn't bear it any longer. They erupted with powerful ultimate skills, preparing to bombard the water region. But at this time, a change occurred in the skies. The immortal bridge, the 12-colored rainbow, shattered like glass. Wah! The rainbow shattered and we haven't even done anything yet. Haha, Lin Ling's breakthrough has failed. Everyone was stunned for a moment before they were overjoyed. Chapter 2904. No matter how pitiful I am not as pitiful as you. Black forbidden medicine? He actually obtained such a precious treasure. Is this guy an idiot? Black forbidden medicine can't be consumed in large quantities. No one can break the taboo. So that's how he failed. Haha, the heavens are jealous of geniuses. With this failure, it will be twice as difficult for him to enter the martial immortal realm. More gloating voices sounded. Unfortunately, they didn't know that the collapse of Lin Ling's third dantian was only a small matter to him. It wasn't a bottleneck at all. Furthermore, because of his main dantian, the next breakthrough of his third dantian would be twice as difficult. Lin Ling, it's impossible for him to fail. Standing in the sky, Meng Lu kept sighing. At first, he didn't believe the scene in front of him. However, after hearing about the black forbidden medicine, he believed it. That was because there was a reason why a taboo was called a taboo. Moreover, in the history of the 9 provinces, only one person had broken the taboo. This showed how strict the taboo was. Let's go. Lin Ling is already a trash. He won't be able to accomplish anything. We should seize the time to search for treasures, and then go to the 4th floor. Following that, the experts of the various big powers left one after another. They didn't have time to care about a trash. Sigh, the heavens are jealous of geniuses. Meng Lu, how are we now? Xian Linglong looked at Meng Lu and said. In her opinion, Lin Ling was already a trash and wasn't worth paying attention to anymore. Let's wait for him. In the end, there will be people who want to harm Lin Ling. Since we know Lin Ling, we should help him if we can. Meng Lu's temperament had always been cold. That was because he didn't like strangers. However, he had interacted with Lin Ling too much. Thus he couldn't bear to see Lin Ling die. After all, Lin Ling was once a man who stood above him. Moreover, Lin Ling had saved him once in the Azure Dragon Divine Mansion. Hearing that, Xian Linglong nodded. She looked at the water below and said indifferently, "Lin Ling, come out. It's just a failed breakthrough. It's no big deal." It could be seen that her attitude towards Lin Ling was not as respectful as before. Of course, she wasn't adding insult to injury. After all, Lin Ling was still someone from the imperial court. Her voice floated into the water, causing the smiling Lin Ling to be stunned. He was still immersed in the joy of breaking through, so Xian Linglong's voice caught him off guard. "Oh, that's right. A breakthrough in the martial immortal realm is something that can cause an abnormal change in heaven and earth. My breakthrough has definitely been noticed by the big powers of the Azure province. Did they think that I failed in my breakthrough?" After being stunned for a moment, Lin Ling suddenly laughed. Moreover, his laughter was very bright. Hiding his cultivation was also very good. At the crucial moment, he could catch his opponent off guard. He used his shattered third dantian and hid the other two dantians. Then, he floated out of the water. Crash! Ripples appeared in the glossy water. Then a figure floated out of it. Both Meng Lu and Xian Linglong were stunned. Meng Lu immediately frowned. He discovered that even though Lin Ling had failed in his breakthrough, his expression was still calm, and there wasn't the slightest bit of decadence. As expected of the man above my head, even with such a setback, he can still remain calm. Meng Lu was secretly shocked. He admired Lin Ling's mentality. Looking at Xian Linglong, she shook her head. She discovered that Lin Ling was only at the World King realm. His cultivation had fallen too quickly. However, she and Lin Ling were friends. Therefore, she comforted him. "Lin Ling, the world is unpredictable. Don't take it to heart. Sometimes a peaceful life is also very good." What she meant was that Lin Ling would become an ordinary person in the future. He should enjoy the life of an ordinary person and completely give up on the martial path. Lin Ling sensed Xian Linglong's attitude towards him. He sighed inwardly. As the saying goes, time reveals a person's heart. If Lin Ling were to display his full strength today, Xian Linglong would definitely flatter him. Thus, sometimes hiding one's cultivation was also very good. However, Lin Ling wasn't too familiar with Xian Linglong. They were only together because of their own interests. Thus, Lin Ling was used to Xian Linglong's attitude towards him. "Haha, World King realm. Lin Ling, you actually became a World King." At this time, a mocking laugh sounded out from the distance. Several youths stepped on the clouds and walked over. And these youths were among the strongest of the first generation. In the past, they had been beaten by Lin Ling until they were scared. They didn't even have the courage to look at Lin Ling. But now, they clearly didn't fear Lin Ling. "Do you want to die? Screw off." At this time, Meng Lu coldly spoke out, causing the expressions of these first-generation talents to change. They were filled with awe towards Meng Lu. "Meng Lu." Lin Ling faintly smiled. He didn't think that not only would Meng Lu not look down on him, but he would instead take the initiative to protect him. It had to be known that Meng Lu was one of the 9 provinces' 10 evils. People with such backgrounds would normally treat all living beings as ants. And this was what it meant to be a friend in need. "Senior apprentice brother Meng Lu, in the past Lin Ling humiliated me. I have a personal grudge with him, and this grudge must be avenged. I hope you won't interfere." One of the youths was still unwilling. Lin Ling had become a piece of trash at the World King realm. If he didn't step on him a few times, he wouldn't be happy. This was because in the past, Lin Ling had humiliated him. No wonder you can only remain as first-generation talents forever. So this is all you have. When others are strong, you only know how to respect them. But when some accident happens to them, you jump out and clamor. With such an attitude, you really are worse than dogs. Meng Lu laughed, his words full of ridicule. Hearing this, The faces of these first-generation talents turned red and blue. They didn't dare to provoke Meng Lu. Instead, they looked at Lin Ling and said, "Lin Ling, you were the strongest first-generation talent in the past, the most monstrous genius of Blue Province. Do you dare to fight like a man? Come and fight. I'll give you 10 moves. If you aren't defeated within 10 moves, I'll admit defeat. Is that enough? Do you dare to fight?" These first-generation talents were all filled with fighting spirit, their fighting spirit boiling over. What was ironic was that they saw that Lin Ling was only at the World King realm. If Lin Ling were at the true divinity realm, how could they dare to be so domineering? Meng Lu laughed even louder, as if he was looking at a group of trash. Moreover, no matter what Lin Ling's current cultivation was, he was still the man above him in the past. How could he allow these clowns to humiliate him? Just as he was about to move, Lin Ling coldly smiled. "Why wouldn't I dare?" As these words fell, Meng Lu was stunned. He didn't interrupt Lin Ling's choice, because if he protected Lin Ling, that would be the same as sympathizing with Lin Ling. And what a man needed the least was sympathy. "Haha, you dare to fight? I'll do it." "You shut up, I'll do it." Seeing Lin Ling agree, these first-generation talents all rushed to fight. This was because if they defeated Lin Ling, then when they returned to Blue Province, they would also be famous figures. Finally, a thin and weak youth walked out. He looked at Lin Ling with contempt. The strongest first-generation talent of the past has fallen to such a state today. Truly pitiful, truly lamentable. You should have the fate of the Son of Heaven, right? You should hand it over. You no longer have the qualifications to possess such a treasure. No matter how pitiful I am not as pitiful as you, Lin Ling coldly said. Chapter 2905. Because you are a piece of trash. Because if we really fight, you will die. Lin Ling took a step forward, lightning appearing on his body. This was the lightning power of his third dantian. However, this lightning was very weak, and his realm essence was also extremely dim. "Haha, World King realm. I fear that your realm essence seed isn't even condensed yet." Seeing Lin Ling's appearance, not only was the thin youth not afraid, he instead laughed loudly. "Watch as I defeat you in one move." The cry of a phoenix rang out. The thin youth turned into a 7-colored phoenix, fiercely attacking Lin Ling. Meanwhile, Lin Ling was expressionless. He also sent out a fist. This fist contained the power of lightning. It looked very weak. When they saw this, the distant spectators all sighed. Lin Ling was very arrogant, but unfortunately, he couldn't see reality clearly. He was no longer the most powerful exceptional talent worshipped by tens of thousands. "Meng Lu, are you not going to help him?" Xianling long hesitated, and then couldn't help but ask. Meng Lu frowned, but in the end he still shook his head. Even if Lin Ling was defeated, he still didn't want to sympathize with Lin Ling, because this would be humiliating Lin Ling. Rumble! The fists collided with the 7-colored phoenix. On the ground, water rushed into the sky, scattering down a torrential downpour. "I'm afraid Lin Ling is dead." Those exceptional talents shook their heads. They knew that the youth before looked like he was exchanging pointers. But in reality, he wanted to kill Lin Ling, because the latter was someone from the left minister's residence. Killing Lin Ling would be a great merit. Next, however, just as they finished speaking, a slender figure appeared in the torrential downpour. It was Lin Ling. In front of him, the youth stood there, his eyes bloodshot, as if he couldn't believe everything before his eyes. How could this be? How? He also spat out a mouthful of blood. This was because when Lin Ling's fist collided with his, he discovered that the fist had shattered his dantian, bones, and meridians. Lin Ling placed his hand on his forehead and lightly pushed, causing the latter to fall to the ground. At the same time, his disdainful voice floated out. "Because you are a piece of trash." Bang! When the voice echoed through the earth, everyone was shocked. Meng Lu and Xianlinglong's jaws dropped. A world king had killed a true divinity, and with a single punch? As expected, that exceptional talent was a piece of trash. As for the other exceptional talents, their faces were all pale. Even though they didn't know how Lin Ling won. Right now, Lin Ling was still as glorious as before, as if the most powerful exceptional talent of the past had risen. "So sorry. We were wrong." Without any hesitation, those exceptional talents knelt down and begged for forgiveness. Hand over your treasures or die, Lin Ling said indifferently. Those exceptional talents were a bit reluctant, but after seeing the indifferent blue-robed youth, they all handed over their treasures and bitterly smiled again and again. Motherfucker, we were tricked. This fellow didn't fail at all. Who the fuck said Lin Ling failed? Stand up, I definitely won't beat you to death. After handing over their treasures, those exceptional talents all cursed inwardly. Yo, you've plundered quite a few treasures. Lin Ling checked his harvest and was also shocked, because these exceptional talents had truly gained quite a bit. No wonder their faces were all dark, and their bodies were shaking. It was because their hearts were shaking. Scram. Lin Ling waved his hand, having those exceptional talents piss their pants in terror and run away. Meng Lu, thank you. However, no matter how much I, Lin Ling, have fallen, it is not up to others to help me. Lin Ling bowed slightly towards Meng Lu, then turned and left with large strides. The surrounding martial artists, Meng Lu, Xian Linglong, and the others all looked at that free and easy figure, each and every one of them feeling like they were dreaming. That figure was like the blue sky and white clouds, wild and unruly, his arrogance reaching the clouds. He was exactly the same as Lin Ling, whose name Shipqing province in the past, and created countless legends. Could it be that Lin Ling didn't fail at all? Meng Lu, Lin Ling's strength? Xian Linglong frowned. She suddenly felt a bit of regret, because her attitude towards Lin Ling before seemed to be a bit arrogant. It's his physical strength. Meng Lu pondered for a moment, then said indifferently, his physical strength is very strong, so even if his realm essence has weakened, it is still not something exceptional talents can touch. So that's how it is. Hearing this, Xian Linglong nodded in realization. It seemed like she had thought too much. Although his strength can defeat exceptional talents, there are as many people in the Eight Gods' heavenly palace who are stronger than exceptional talents. Therefore, Lin Ling is still very dangerous. Meng Lu said again. Then he strode forward in search of his own opportunity. The 4th level, the world of the strong. Lin Ling is probably not qualified to enter. Xian Linglong sighed inwardly and followed Meng Lu. What? You were all defeated by Lin Ling? As for the exceptional talents from before, they were stopped by an old man, who was asking about the process of the previous battle. I am a guest elder of the Azure Dragon Divine Palace from 10,000 worlds. My name is Zhang Huanga. You can call me Master Zhang. Tell me all the power Lin Ling used before. Lin Ling used the power of lightning, but he killed senior brother Lu with one punch. You've been fooled. Lin Ling is proficient in the space-time fire, and he has the God-Devil body. He didn't even use his strongest move before, which means that his strength has been greatly reduced. But he also killed senior brother Lu with one punch. His physical strength won't be weakened because of a breakthrough. In fact, that was Lin Ling's strongest punch. Moreover, he should have been seriously injured. Unfortunately, you were frightened by Lin Ling's fame, and still thought that Lin Ling was very strong. We've been fooled. After the exceptional talents analyzed the situation, they were so angry that their faces turned red. Then they roared, Bastard! Lin Ling is actually an arrow at the end of its flight. Find him, we must find him. Hehe, there are probably many people who want to catch him now. Lin Ling has the Son of Heaven's fate, which is a delicious cake. Soon, there will be more and more people looking for him, and Lin Ling will die in the 3rd level. The old man revealed a sinister smile. Right now, the experts of the Imperial Court had all gone to the 4th level, so no one could help Lin Ling. Moreover, Lin Ling had become a cripple, so the Imperial Court might not be able to protect Lin Ling anymore. It could only be said that Lin Ling was too arrogant and had offended too many ancient experts. At this moment, Lin Ling was heading towards the Black Water region. He looked at the distant sky and felt that the world was about to move. Right now, there should be many people looking for him. In the past, Lin Ling, was very strong, and many people respected him greatly. However, that was only on the surface. Secretly, those people wanted nothing more than to kill Lin Ling. Now, Lin Ling could clearly see who wanted to kill him, so he could catch them all in one fell swoop. However, the most important thing right now was for Lin Ling to obtain the seawater heartflower, because if the magnates knew about this treasure, they would probably return from the 4th level to seize it. According to his memories, Lin Ling once again arrived at the Black Water region. What surprised him was that there were several figures standing at the edge of the Black Water region, discussing spiritedly. Chapter 2906. Stealing the Seawater Heart Flower. But senior brother Zhang said that there are powerful ferocious beasts in the blessed enclave under the water. Should we go down? Let's go down and give it a try. The path of martial arts is filled with death. If we don't increase our strength, we'll be looked down upon forever. These people actually planned to enter the Black Waters. Moreover, they were also from the Imperial Court. This isn't a place you can enter. Didn't the Imperial Court tell you? Lin Ling floated down and said indifferently, "Your Excellency Lin Ling." These people were shocked and then bowed to Lin Ling. A good-looking woman said to Lin Ling, "The Imperial Court did say that it's dangerous below the Black Waters, but they didn't say what kind of danger there is. We're the weakest in the Imperial Court and have a lowly status. Therefore, we don't want to give up this opportunity." The girl who spoke looked very cute and had a round apple-like face. She looked at Lin Ling with a gaze full of reverence. Even her voice was trembling. Seeing this, Lin Ling couldn't help but smile. "Your willpower is very strong, but do what you can. Under the Black Waters, you will definitely die. Moreover, even if you have a slim chance of surviving, I, Lin Ling, will not stop you from going down." "Thank you, Your Excellency Lin Ling." These people believed in Lin Ling's words and nodded. Lin Ling sighed. These people probably didn't know that his cultivation had decreased greatly. If they knew, would they still treat him like this? "Your Excellency Lin Ling, I'm Lin Pinger. I look up to you the most. I'm Su Shu. I joined the Imperial Court because of you." Seeing Lin Ling's smile, the people from the Imperial Court didn't feel so much pressure anymore. "If you want to obtain some treasures, why don't you head west and find the blue and orange waters? After you gather them, you can fuse them with divine crystals. The effects of the divine crystals will increase by 10 times. Lin Ling thought about it and decided to help these people. Although they were weak, they had the heart to become stronger and weren't afraid of danger. "Is that so? Thank you, Sir Lin Ling." Lin Ping was overjoyed and left with the others. Lin Ling shook his head and jumped into the black water. As for Lin Ping and the others, they chatted as they walked. "Your Excellency Lin Ling is famous throughout the Azure province. I thought you were a fierce god, but I didn't expect you to be so easy to talk to. Yeah, and he doesn't put on any airs when he treats us. He's completely different from the other experts. I really want to keep him by my side. Most importantly, I think he's so handsome." Yo, our Ping is thinking of love. Hateful. Lin Ling and the other women chattered incessantly, causing those young men to shake their heads helplessly. However, they were extremely excited in their hearts when they thought about how Lin Ling was able to talk to them. Gulyalu. At that moment, Lin Ling had passed through the black waters and arrived at the blessed enclave again. Here there were mountains and lofty ridges. It was like another world. Looking at the sky, the black waters were rolling like dark clouds. Lin Ling's expression turned serious as he strode forward. Rumbling sounds of water could be heard in front of him. After a while, the Sea of 10,000 Realms appeared again. Within it, a small transparent flower was swaying slightly, emitting a mysterious light. Looking around, the ground was a mess. The 3,000 dragon scale umbrella was lying in tatters in the distance. As for Long Tang and the others, they were probably dead. Tao Tai, one of the 4 most ferocious creatures in the universe. It's extremely powerful and has gained human intelligence. I have to strike first to gain the upper hand. Lin Ling's soul power spread out. Seeing that the surroundings were still quiet, Lin Ling's eyes emitted a sharp light. Whoosh! Before Tao Tai appeared, Lin Ling had already dashed towards the seawater heart flower. Lin Ling's tyrannical body blocked the Sea of 10,000 Realms. However, the mysterious sea still crashed into him, causing his bones to shatter. He knew that he could only block the impact of the sea for 3 breaths. However, 3 breaths were as long as 3 centuries for Lin Ling. It was enough. He was getting closer and closer to the seawater heart flower. In the next moment, he held the small flower in his palm and pulled it out. However, although the flower looked small, it was as heavy as 1,000 caddies. Not good. Lin Ling's expression changed drastically. At the same time, green hair emerged from the water beneath his feet. Tao Dai had appeared. Rumble. Billowing ferocious aura erupted at the same time, causing Lin Ling's expression to turn serious. Fortunately, the ferocious aura rushed out from the bottom of the water. Coupled with Lin Ling's strength, he was able to pull the seawater heart flower out. Moreover, his body retreated like an arrow. How dare you? At the same time, a low voice sounded. The water surface exploded, and the ferocious beast quickly appeared. Its 4 eyes stared fiercely at Lin Ling. Its body was like a qilin, its green hair dancing wildly, its sharp horns and its ferocious face. All these proved that it was a ferocious beast of slaughter. Rumble. Billowing ferocious aura filled the air, causing huge waves to appear in the black water in the sky. On the other hand, Lin Ling smiled bitterly. Originally, he wanted to make the first move to gain the upper hand, and then quickly leave. However, now that the beast had awakened, a fierce battle was inevitable. One man and one beast just watched quietly like this. Time passed quietly. At this moment, above the black water, a large number of figures floated in the sky. They had captured many people from the imperial court. Is Lin Ling under the black water? Roar! One of the burly men shouted angrily. He had the face of a lion, and was extremely terrifying. Speak! Speak! Beside him was an old man with 8 arms. His beard was extremely long, like the arms of an octopus. These experts came from thousands of worlds. After knowing that Lin Ling had become a cripple, they came for the emperor's mandate. Because becoming the Azure Emperor was the dream of all Qing state warriors. However, the 3rd level was too big. They couldn't find Lin Ling, so they captured people from the imperial court. They wanted to know where Lin Ling was through them. Sir, you dare to break the rules? Are you not afraid that the 3rd prince will kill you? Sir, in the imperial court, an old man said coldly. Haha, we have a personal grudge with Lin Ling. It has nothing to do with the imperial court. Moreover, there are so many people who want to capture Lin Ling. Can the imperial court handle all of them? If the 3rd prince knew that Lin Ling had become a cripple, he would probably abandon Lin Ling. Sir, as for you, we won't kill you because we don't want to offend the imperial court. However, if you don't tell us where Lin Ling is, don't blame us for being ruthless. Sir, the old monster said coldly. There were many exceptional talents and magnates among them. We don't know. Sir. However, the people from the imperial court were very stubborn. They clenched their teeth and refused to say anything. Not good. Sir Lin Ling is in the black water. If these old monsters know, Sir Lin Ling will be in trouble. Yes. In the imperial court, someone secretly transmitted to Lin Ping, only a few of them knew where Lin Ling was. However, they didn't plan on revealing Lin Ling's location. Chapter 2907. The King of Beasts. I have 80 million divine crystals here. As long as you tell me where Lin Ling is, these divine crystals will belong to you. I'll even teach you a martial art. That's right. Although you're from the imperial court, the true experts have all gone to the 4th level, so you shouldn't have any status in the imperial court. If you want others to worship you, you have to be stronger. Don't miss the chance we're giving you. That's right. The old monsters all took out temptations, making the imperial court people lick their lips. Indeed, they were very ordinary in the imperial court, but now they had a chance. If they could get those treasures, their strength would increase greatly. That's right. One of them opened his mouth, wanting to say something. Shut up. Although we're weak, we have principles. As people of the imperial court, how can we betray our own people so easily? However, Lin Ping suddenly shouted. I was wrong. That's right. Hearing that person immediately lowered his head. Haha, you have backbone. However, little girl, you're still too inexperienced. You definitely know where Lin Ling is, and you all look panicked. This means that Lin Ling is nearby. Am I right? A cunning old man suddenly laughed sinisterly, causing Lin Ping, and the others' expressions to change. With their experience, they were clearly too inexperienced compared to the old monsters. He should be in the black waters. Find him. We must find that trash Lin Ling. That's right. The first generation of the various giants also spoke one after another. Boom. However, at that moment, a soaring ferocious aura erupted, and the image of a ferocious beast appeared. It was as if a monarch had descended upon the world. Taotai, one of the 4 great beasts of the universe. That's right. Those old monsters could be said to have seen a lot. They were so frightened that their faces turned pale. Looking at this aura, it's probably at the 5th level of the martial immortal realm. That's right. It should be a young beast, but it's not something we can provoke. That's right. Everyone began to quietly retreat. Even the 4 giants couldn't kill the 4 great beasts of the universe. If the Taotai charged out, this place would be littered with corpses. Retreat. That's right. Someone shouted and hurriedly ran into the distance. Damn it, is Lin Ling really here? The eyes of those exceptional talents turned red from anger, all of them looking at Lin Ping, and the others. It is indeed here. Moreover, His Excellency Lin Ling clearly knows that there are ferocious creatures in the black waters. Yet he isn't the slightest bit afraid. Look at your appearances, you're scared witless. Haha, you want to compare yourself to Lin Ling? You're just a bunch of dogs. At this moment Lin Pinger's heart was at ease. You shut up. You must be deceiving us. How can that Taotai be someone that Lin Ling, this trash, can challenge? In my opinion, Lin Ling isn't here at all. The exceptional talents all shouted angrily. That's because you're trash. You're a bunch of trash. Everyone in the imperial court laughed mockingly, especially Lin Ling's. At this moment, she worshipped Lin Ling even more. This was because Lin Ling was not afraid of the monster that everyone was afraid of. This made her feel very proud. Moreover, if it wasn't for Lin Ling's warning, they would definitely have to face that monster. Therefore Lin Ling had saved their lives. Let me tell you, Lin Ling is in the black waters. If you have the ability, then go find him. If you wait until he comes out, trash like you definitely won't dare to be arrogant. You can only obediently kneel and kowtow. Lin Pinger said again. Take them away. An old monster roared. He clearly didn't think that Lin Ling was in the black waters. He was definitely hiding somewhere else. Our patience is limited. We'll give you 1 day. After 1 day, if you don't speak, then every 2 hours, we'll kill one of you. Everyone fled this place, but they still weren't willing to give up on Lin Ling. So they kidnapped the imperial court's people. Meanwhile, the black waters were surging with great waves, as if a vicious creature had descended. However, the black waters were extremely peaceful. 1 man and 1 beast faced off against each other. The 4 eyes of the Taotai stared at Lin Ling and spoke in human language. Previously, there were many people gathered above. I thought they were here to save you, but now it seems that they're just a bunch of trash. They don't even have as much courage as you. At least, you're the first person to remain calm in front of me. Moreover, you've been here once before, but you still dared to come despite knowing how terrifying I am. You really surprised me. Could it be that you didn't see the 3 people who died before? I saw them, so what? Lin Ling stood tall like a pine tree, his blue robe fluttering in the wind. The Taotai didn't seem to be in a hurry to kill Lin Ling and said slowly, Kid, you really have guts. However, you stole my seawater heart flower. Your courage also makes me very angry. Do you know that for this seawater heart flower, I've been here for 5,000 years. What a joke. Heavenly treasures can only be obtained by those who have the ability. How could it be yours just because you came first? Moreover, if we're talking about who knew about this seawater heart flower earlier, I already knew about this seawater heart flower in my last life. At that time, you were still drinking milk. Lin Ling faintly smiled, causing the Taoya's 4 eyes to twinkle. It discovered that this youth in front of it was a bit strange. You're only a human world king, yet you're not afraid of me? I see that your courage is extraordinary, so I'll give you a chance. Put down the seawater heart flower, and I'll let you leave. The Taotai said again. Thank you. Lin Ling calmly shrugged. He gently bent down, preparing to put down the seawater heart flower. But at this time, the Taotia's 4 eyes emitted an ominous light. It was one of the 4 great vicious beasts of the universe. How could it let someone leave? However, Lin Ling seemed to know its temperament. He bent down and stood up straight again. I've suddenly changed my mind. You. The Taotai didn't think that Lin Ling would change his mind so quickly, as if he were toying with it. Haha, you don't need to play any tricks. This black water region has already been sealed off by you. Unless you die, no one will be able to leave. Moreover, how can the words of the king of vicious beasts be trusted? Lin Ling put away the seawater heart flower once more, smiling as he spoke. It seems that I've underestimated you. Then, let's see just who the master of this seawater heart flower is. The Taotia's vicious aura became increasingly rich. Its long blue hair wildly danced in the wind. In the next moment, it vanished from where it was. It actually had the speed of 20 worlds. Seeing this, Lin Ling's complexion also became dignified. Boy, I have to admit that you are a bit strange. But in this universe of chaos, strength is everything. A giant claw tore through space. It was fast, incomparably fast. This claw could collapse 10 worlds. In the Taotia's opinion, this claw could even take Lin Ling's life. However, it was surprised. This was because Lin Ling also attacked. Billowing flames erupted, multicolored as they illuminated the entire black water region. A terrifying fist mixed with powerful world essence collided with the claw. Rumble, rumble, rumble. As the 2 powerhouses collided, the surrounding mountains were instantly flattened. You are not at the World King realm. This is impossible. I am one of the 4 great vicious beasts of the universe, and I have the 4 absolute eyes. If you hide your cultivation, it should be impossible for me to not see it. The Taotai cried out in alarm. This was too strange. It had surpassed its imagination. Even Lin Ling had a grave expression on his face. He did not expect that after becoming a martial immortal, he would not be able to fight against other cultivators. Instead, he would encounter this demonic beast. Fortunately, this was only a cub. If it was a fully grown ferocious beast, he would have no choice but to abandon the seawater heart flower and flee. Playing with soul force. Do you think you're the only one who can do that? On Lin Ling's body, a terrifying soul power also rushed out. He transformed into a human form and punched out. Pop. Pop. Invisible soul forces collided. If it were any other martial artist here, just the ripples of soul force alone would cause their soul to collapse. But in the collision of soul force, Taotai still wasn't able to gain any advantage, and even suffered a bit of a loss. Impossible. Why is your soul power so strong? Isn't the primal chaos not good at soul power? Taotai was somewhat furious. He had never seen such a troublesome primal chaos. How many times have you said impossible? Let me tell you, you can't kill me. The seawater heart flower is on me, and now it belongs to me. Lin Ling sneered. His long hair was also wildly dancing. He was simply a living ferocious beast. In terms of world essence, he was not much weaker than Taotai with the fusion of his 3 dantians and the evil flame transformation. In terms of physical strength, he had the god-demon body and the world-devouring beast. He was not much weaker than Taotai. In terms of soul power, he could even crush Taotai. At this moment, Taotai was extremely depressed. He did not expect Lin Ling to be so difficult to deal with. He was even more difficult to deal with than the 3 people he had killed earlier. Most importantly, Lin Ling's cultivation realm was lower than the 3 of them. There are 4 ferocious beasts in the universe: Taotai, Swanni, Cheongqi, and Primal Chaos. These are the kings of the ferocious beasts, above the 10 ferocious beasts. The 10 ferocious beasts: Sky-cracking roar, Coral unicorn, red flame golden Swanni, ice-horn demonic dragon, 8-clawed fire centipede, 9-winged celestial dragon, thunderbat dragon, blue-winged sea dragon, sea-cracking mysterious dragon whale, and Kuei cow. When they meet the kings of the ferocious beasts, they are like subjects. You are definitely the king of the 4 ferocious beasts. Taotia's voice became more and more serious. Now it only had one choice. 1. Give up on the seawater heart flower. 2. Erupt its ferocious beast bloodline. As for the second choice, it would weaken its bloodline, and it would need more treasures to make up for it. In the end, It chose to throw caution to the wind. Empty void. Endless green hair danced wildly, turning into a huge vortex like a black hole that wanted to devour everything. At this moment, Lin Ling finally felt the rolling pressure, because the vortex seemed to have become chaotic in the universe. No wonder the Taotai was reluctant to part with the seawater heart flower. This flower that condensed the sea of 10,000 worlds was indeed a rare treasure. After leaving the Black Water region, Lin Ling walked around the third layer at will. Previously, through the mouth of the Taotai, he knew that a large number of experts had gathered in the Black Water region. He did not know why those experts had come. However, if they had come for him, then Lin Ling would definitely settle their grudges with his own hands. Lin Ling, it's you? Yes. His majestic appearance was immediately noticed by the experts. Among them, an old man shouted in ecstasy, Lin Ling, come here. Lin Ling strode over. He stared at one of the old men and frowned slightly. Who are you? I seem to have seen you before. Yes. That old man was obviously someone with great status. His cultivation was at the second level of the martial immortal realm. Lin Ling, oh Lin Ling, you are truly a person of great status who forgets things. That old man smiled and said, I am the 4/9. I came from the eastern border, and have repeatedly gone to your rainforest marketplace to purchase treasures. Could it be that you have forgotten? Oh, after being reminded, Lin Ling remembered that the 4/9 were frequent customers of the rainforest marketplace. However, if he remembered correctly, the 4/9 were extremely respectful when they saw him in the past. However, their current attitude had become somewhat cold. That was indeed the case. The gazes of the 4/9, as they looked at Lin Ling, were filled with sneers. Lin Ling, you will not be able to escape even if you grow wings. You had better hand over the Son of Heaven's mandate, and cripple your own cultivation. Seeing that we have known each other for a while, I can plead for leniency on your behalf and spare your life. That 4/9 narrowed his eyes and said with a smile that was not a smile. Lin Ling, I was respectful to you in the past because you were powerful. However, you are now a piece of trash. Obediently accept reality. Understood. Hearing that, Lin Ling finally understood. He smiled coldly. You are called the 4/9, right? In the past, you were like a dog in front of me. Today, in the blink of an eye, you do not recognize me. Do you not feel that your conduct is very shameless? Understood. Chapter 29:10. Killing one person in 2 hours. I hope your intuition is still sharp. Now spit it out. Kill. Killing intent appeared in Lin Ling's eyes. When he was famous in Qingzhou, all the feudal lords gave him face, and often went to his Yulin market to flatter him. However, there were too many hypocrites. Many people even wanted to secretly kill him. And now, he could use this opportunity to see who wanted to kill him. After all, Lin Ling might not be afraid if he kept ingrates by his side, but it would not be good if he implicated Yu and the others one day. You'd better follow us obediently. All the strong cultivators are waiting for you. If you run away, the people of the imperial court will die. The 4/9 said again, causing Lin Ling's eyes to turn even colder. These people had actually captured the people of the imperial court. The people of the imperial court were obviously implicated by him. Lead the way. Yes. Lin Ling took the lead. Senior 4/9, in my opinion, we should capture him and cripple his cultivation to avoid unnecessary trouble. Yes. One of them looked at Lin Ling coldly and said, this person was afraid that Lin Ling would run away, so he actually made such a suggestion. Yes, safety first. Yes. The 4/9 immediately nodded. Looking at Lin Ling's back, he said, Lin Ling, you and I can be considered friends. Why don't you cripple your own cultivation and follow us, so that we can make a great contribution? Yes. When he said this, it was as if it was a matter of course. Trash. Yes. Lin Ling's expression turned cold. He ignored him and continued to walk forward. Bah! You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Yes. The people beside the 4/9 were furious and wanted to attack. However, at this moment, Lin Ling finally stopped and looked over coldly. That one glance caused all of them to stop what they were doing. A cold chill rose from their hearts. Although Lin Ling was now crippled, the name of Lin Ling's destruction of the country still remained in their hearts. A bunch of trash. Yes. Seeing that they didn't dare to move, Lin Ling continued forward. The expressions of the 4-9-ines and the others were extremely ugly, but they could not do anything. They could only follow Lin Ling. As long as Lin Ling did not try to escape, they would let Lin Ling do whatever he wanted. This way. Of course, the 4-9-ines and the others were still astonished by Lin Ling's calmness along the way. In fact, Lin Ling gave them the feeling that he wasn't going to throw his life away. Instead, he was going to kill people. It must be an illusion. He's only at the World King realm. He can't cause any great waves. The 4-9-ines and the others all secretly comforted themselves. As for the third layer, right now large amounts of experts were gathered there. There were many exceptional talents and old monsters from 10,000 realms. One of them sat down in an imposing manner. Below him was a chair condensed from golden sand. Everyone looked at him with eyes full of reverence. My nephew Luosha, for Lin Ling, you actually came back from the 4th floor. You are truly courageous. An old man with white hair and a ruddy complexion smiled at the young man. The 99 High Prince has ordered me to bring back Lin Ling's Son of Heaven mandate. Luosha indifferently said, causing everyone to suck in a breath of cold air. They never thought that the person behind Imperial Censor Dragon Court would also move against Lin Ling. The 99 High Prince was in truth not young. He wasn't the 99th son of the Blue Emperor, but because he was arrogant and overbearing, and had repeatedly committed treacherous acts, the Blue Emperor had demoted him to the 99 High Prince. And now that the Blue Emperor had been demoted, the ambitious 99 High Prince had finally revealed his fangs. Of course, if you and the others have helped the 99 High Prince, the High Prince will also reward you. Luosha said. He knew that there were all sorts of powerhouses here. There were blue flame soldiers, as well as people from the left minister's palace. Thus he had to appease these people. Otherwise, if these people were to notify the 2 overlords of the left minister's palace, those 2 overlords would also send powerhouses to seize the Son of Heaven mandate. The High Prince is wise. The various vassals began to laugh. In their respective overlords, their status wasn't high, and they weren't considered trusted subordinates. Thus, they placed great importance on treasures, and didn't have a sense of belonging to the overlords. Where's Lin Ling? Luosha Ci looked at the group of people in the distance. Those people were from the Imperial Court. We don't know. Yes, the people from the Imperial Court were still stubborn. They gritted their teeth and shook their heads. Time's up. Kill. Kill 1 person in 2 hours. If Lin Ling still doesn't appear after 6 hours, kill 100 people. Luosha Ci waved his hand coldly. This was the best opportunity to kill Lin Ling. He wouldn't miss it. Moreover, he had heard about what happened to the Sunbone and Realgar. He was terrified. He didn't want to be a stone statue for the rest of his life, living a life worse than death. Among the people from the Imperial Court, you seem to be the one who protects Lin Ling the most. Little girl, I'll start with you. Yes. A skinny man walked out. He looked like he could be blown away by a gust of wind, but his eyes were filled with lust. The person he was staring at was Lin Ping. I'm called Ruthless Destroying Flowers. I specialize in devouring the primordial een of beautiful women. Before you die, it will be very painful. Yes. The man smiled. His mouth was filled with yellow teeth. It was extremely disgusting. Lin Pinger saw this and her body trembled. She knew that the ugly man wanted to destroy her. Luosha Ci, you've broken the rules. The 4 magnates are not allowed to fight in the 8 gods' heavenly palace. Roar. The people from the Imperial Court roared. Haha. Do you really think that the 4 magnates won't fight? That's because the treasures haven't appeared yet. Once the treasures appear, the magnates on the 4th floor will make their move. Moreover, you're on the 3rd floor. Why would the magnates of the Imperial Court care about you? Taking a step back, we can say that you're courting death. You stole our treasures and were killed by us. I believe that with the 3 magnates working together, the third prince won't dare to pursue the matter. In the end, he can only sacrifice you. Roar! Luo Shaxi suddenly laughed and looked at the people from the imperial court mockingly. You despicable! The people from the imperial court cursed. Don't be hasty. You'll all die later. Let's start with this little girl. The skinny man took off his shirt, revealing his bony upper body. Pinger! Seeing this, the people from the imperial court shouted. However, their bodies were bound by the realm essence chains. They couldn't help even if they wanted to. As for Lin Ping she gritted her teeth. In the imperial court their status was the lowest. However, they were unwilling and wanted to become stronger. Who knew that they would end up in such a situation? She was unwilling. Tears welled up in her eyes. She came from a huge realm in the Western world. She was the third princess of that realm. She thought that she could achieve great things in Qing province. However, she found that she, who was looked up to in the realm, was actually just an ant in Qing province. When she was still in the realm, the young geniuses nearby all came to ask for her hand in marriage. However, she was arrogant and rejected all of them. Today, she was going to marry that ugly man. I once said that no man in this universe will ever be able to marry me. However, when I saw him that day, I finally knew that if I were to marry in the future, my husband would have to be like him, Lin Ling of the imperial court. Lin Ping gritted her teeth. Lin Ling is young. No wonder the beauties like him. Unfortunately, you can only benefit an ugly uncle like me. Don't worry, I'll treat you well. The black sky and the huge mouth seemed to lead to the underworld. The realm-swallowing beast had arrived. A 10th grade divine body, the aura of destruction, the aura of nirvanic extermination, and the cold aura exploded in the sky, causing the faces of the various vassals to turn pale. They watched helplessly as their attacks were all devoured by the huge mouth. Their attacks were of no use at all, even if it was 120% attack. Even if all of them joined forces, they were still suppressed by Lin Ling alone. The blue-robed figure in the sky became dazzling and piercingly cold at this moment. Not good, that mouth is going to devour us. Someone suddenly let out a cry of horror, because a powerful suction force was born, pulling them. They could not control their bodies, and could not resist. At this moment, they regretted and were afraid. Especially the ancient martial artists who had a good relationship with Lin Ling. They were the most miserable, because if they did not make this choice today, Lin Ling would still be their friend. But now Lin Ling was their enemy. All of this could not be blamed on them for looking down on others. It was because they did not expect that even if Lin Ling failed to break through, his strength would still be among the 9 heavens of Qingzhou. What a bold move. Is he going to kill the 4 magnates in one move? At this moment, a slender figure suddenly appeared in the sky. This person was wearing silver armor. The moment he appeared, a roaring aura filled the air. Great Ape of Change, save me. When Luo Shaxi saw who it was, he immediately shouted. The latter was one of the 9 heavens of Qingzhou, the Great Ape of Change. It was said that this person was transformed from a stone monkey. He entered the world to find a master, and became the disciple of a reclusive expert. He studied hard for 800 years and finally came to Qingzhou. He defeated countless experts, and became one of the 9 heavens of Qingzhou. This person was very strong. Even the 9 heavens of Qingzhou did not know his strength, because he had never used his full strength. Therefore, Sun Gu and Luo Shaxi were extremely respectful towards him. They felt that this person was twice as strong as them. It's you. Lin Ling also looked at the person who came. He had seen the Great Ape of Change before. Back then, when he went to Tating Commandery for the first time, this heavens of Qingzhou appeared. Lin Ling, I did not expect your strength to increase so much after we parted that day. Also, you failed to break through, but your strength is still strong. This surprised me. However, how about you give me some face and let them go? The Great Ape of Change looked at Lin Ling calmly. Why should I give you face? Lin Ling replied coldly. If he had really failed to break through, he wondered if the Great Ape of Change would have come to save him at that time. Good, very good. In the collision between the two, Lin Ling merely had a slight upper hand. But Lin Ling had an advantage that the Great Change Ape didn't have. And that was the strength of his physical body. One had to know that in the collision, the Great Change Ape definitely suffered some injuries. But Lin Ling's physical body's recovery ability was powerful. Not only was he not injured as time passed, his physical body became more and more powerful instead. This also made the balance start to tilt towards Lin Ling. I thought that the Great Change Ape of Azure State's 9 Great Heavens would be very powerful. Unfortunately, you still slightly disappointed me. Lin Ling raised his head, his icy cold eyes meeting the Great Change Ape's. You're very formidable, surprising me greatly. But do you think that's all I have? The Great Change Ape revealed fangs at the corners of his mouth, and he said gloomily, I'm going to break your armor, do you believe me? Lin Ling said again, making the Great Change Ape's expression change, and he roared furiously, Dream on! Lin Ling said that he would break his armor in front of so many people. Did he think that he, the Great Change Ape, didn't exist? He wasn't the likes of Sun Bone. You'll see. Surging boundary essence started to appear on Lin Ling's fist. At the beginning, it was the boundary essence of the third Dantian. Gradually, the boundary essence of the second Dantian also silently surged out. He didn't believe that the Great Change Ape could block him for long. However, when the boundary essence of his third Dantian had just surged out, this power was like the last straw that broke the camel's back, causing a clear sound to resound out. Crack! The armor on the Great Change Ape's entire body instantly split apart, spraying out in all directions. He sprayed out a mouthful of blood, his body flying out. Rumble! The ground was smashed by the Great Change Ape. An enormous and deep pit appeared, and enormous rocks rolled in the sky like straw. Chapter 29:15. What an ugly person! Bang! 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 At the same time, the ground shook as a giant ape roared furiously, and then a figure shot out from the ground. This person's hair was disheveled, and there were traces of blood on his body. It was the Great Ape of Change. At this moment, he had his head lowered, and his expression was extremely unsightly as he looked at the shattered armor on his body. Earlier, he didn't take Lin Ling seriously and defeated Lin Ling with a single move. After that, Lin Ling returned the favor. However, what was even more terrifying than the Great Ape of Change was that Lin Ling's punch had shattered the armor that he was most proud of. Lin Ling was telling him that it was only one of the 9 Great Heavens of Azure Province. It wasn't the Great Ape of Change that was one, but he, Lin Ling, was one as well. I'll kill you. The Great Ape of Change raised his head, and his eyes were completely red. I'm looking forward to that. Lin Ling tilted his head slightly and revealed a bloodthirsty smile. If the Great Ape of Change was a violent ancient ape, then Lin Ling was a ferocious being. Let's see who was more ferocious and ferocious. Those words caused the Great Ape of Change to frown tightly. I didn't use my full strength earlier, and I only used 70% of my strength. As one of the 9 Great Heavens of Azure Province, the Great Ape of Change was naturally not as weak as it seemed. However, it would be slightly troublesome if it wanted to unleash even greater strength. So, it wanted to use these words to tell Lin Ling that it would be extremely easy for it to destroy Lin Ling. You think you're the only one who didn't use your full strength? However, Lin Ling smiled and spat out a sentence coldly. This caused the Great Ape of Change to be stunned on the spot. Lin Ling's strength was so terrifying just now, yet he hadn't used his full strength? What if Lin Ling used his full strength? It simply didn't dare to imagine. It was even to the extent that it thought Lin Ling was lying to it. However, it could only continue fighting if it wanted to know everything. Once it continued fighting, it wouldn't benefit the Great Ape of Change at all, because it had only come to the 3rd level out of curiosity. The 4th level was its true battlefield, and it couldn't miss the treasures on the 4th level. I'll remember you, Lin Ling. After pondering for a moment, the Great Change Ape didn't dare to start the final battle. After leaving behind a few words, it strode away. A stray dog dares to speak such arrogant words. Looking indifferently at the Great Change Ape, Lin Ling disdainfully spat out. You say you are not a sunbone, but in reality, in my eyes, you are no different from a sunbone. A stray dog? The Great Change Ape recalled Lin Ling's words. It roared angrily, and endured that humiliation. In the end, it disappeared into the distance. However, when everyone looked at its back, they found that it cut a bit of a sorry figure. Even when the great change ape completely disappeared, the earth was still silent. Everyone was looking at the man in the sky, their hearts shaking. Someone as strong as the great change ape, Lin Ling, actually used a single punch to force the other back. This meant that all of them had misjudged Lin Ling. Even if Lin Ling failed to break through, he was still not someone they could provoke. Thinking of this, everyone felt a chill in their hearts. They were very, very regretful. Luo Shaxiai, do you know that I've been looking for you for a long time? I didn't expect you to come out on your own. At this moment, Lin Ling's gaze shifted as he looked at Luo Shaxiai with a cold smile. Luo Shaxiai was the most regretful of all. Originally, he didn't have to face Lin Ling. With the 99th prince beside him, it would be difficult for Lin Ling to touch him. However, he thought that Lin Ling had failed to break through and was completely crippled. Therefore, he seized this opportunity to come and wash away the humiliation of his commandery. However, this pride and complacency didn't last long. Reality let him know that returning to the third level was the worst choice in his life. You can't escape. Lin Ling naturally knew the regret in Luo Shaxi's heart. He didn't say much and shot down from the sky towards the ground. A rolling fist blasted towards Luo Shaxiai. Sand World Storm. Luo Shaxi's pupils constricted as he unleashed all his strength. His true god martial soul was activated, and a pitch-black sand emperor appeared behind him. His long robes fluttered in the wind and turned into a three-edged sand knife that slashed towards the sky. At this moment, all the heroes were extremely nervous because Luo Shaxiai was their last line of defense. However, this line of defense was obviously useless. Not to mention the current Lin Ling. Even the previous Lin Ling could easily defeat Luo Shaxiai. Rumble. A meteor came crashing down from the sky. A ferocious fist stirred up the sand, causing it to split into pieces. Then, the fist landed on Luo Shaxi's chest. Crack, crack, crack. The sound of bones breaking was immediately heard. Pop, pop, pop. Then, there was a muffled sound that sounded like thunder. Luo Shaxi's dantian had collapsed. Crash. Luo Shaxi's limbs and bones were smashed into pieces by the powerful fist. Plop. Luo Shaxiai fell to the ground, and his eyes were filled with dismay. As one of the 9 heavens of Qing province, he couldn't withstand a single punch from Lin Ling. He stared at the man in front of him and laughed bitterly in his heart. The first time he met Lin Ling was in the 8 Gods' heavenly palace. At that time, Lin Ling was like an ant. Now Lin Ling and he met again in the 8 Gods' heavenly palace, but the ant had become him. Destroy my realm. It's useless even if you run to the ends of the earth. I won't kill you. But now, you'll have to experience what it means to live a life worse than death. Lin Ling looked down at Luo Shaxiai. Luo Shaxi's expression was calm. Perhaps he also knew what would happen if he fell into Lin Ling's hands. At this moment he wasn't angry at all. Instead, he was very calm, very calm. There were countless geniuses in the universe. In this process, a large number of geniuses fell, and a large number of geniuses rose like comets. And now he met Lin Ling. It could only be said that he had lost to Lin Ling in the competition of martial arts. Little Kunlun, look at him. Lin Ling didn't look at Luo Shaxiai again. He spoke softly to his left arm. Immediately vines slithered out like snakes binding Luo Shaxiai. Meanwhile, Lin Ling stepped out, walking towards the sky and looking down on the various vassals on the ground. Lin Ling, do you still remember me? I am from the Southern Dao. In the past, I had a meal with you in a restaurant in Four Ring City. At the time, Sunset Brilliance was also present. Lin Ling, I was wrong. The vassals and exceptional talents on the ground all began to panic at this moment. They wanted Lin Ling to let them go. They even spoke of their past friendship, hoping that Lin Ling would spare their lives out of respect for their past acquaintance. You people really are ugly. For the sake of the martial Dao, you can abandon everything. Friendship, family, love, in your eyes everyone serves you. If they are useful to you, you will receive them with a smile. If they are useless to you, you will stab them in the back. However, you all are also very pitiful. Even if you all become strong in the future and rule over the 9 provinces, when you look back, you all actually have nothing, only loneliness. Lin Ling coldly looked at the various vassals and said. When they heard this, no one could refute it. They were indeed people who could abandon everything for the sake of the martial Tao. In the future, when they looked back, in reality, there was nothing left in their memories. It was because all of their family, friendship, and love had been abandoned by them. They only had themselves in their hearts.